Good evening, everybody. We'll just go through the fire evacuation procedure. There is no fire drill planned, so if the fire alarm sounds, please follow the committee staff and leave by the exit nearest to the large screen at the front of the room and proceed down the fire exit to the courtyard. Once it is safe to return, councillors will receive a text message. Officers will also advise when it is safe to return to the meeting. Webcasting. We are recording the meeting this evening, and the webcast will be transmitted live on the Council's YouTube channel and will also be available on the Council's website. Generally, the public seating areas are not filmed. However, by entering St George's Suite and using the public seating area, you are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting and training purposes. And just a little bit of housekeeping. Before we begin this evening's meeting, I would like to remind members to engage respectfully with one another and to address your speeches to me as the Mayor. Before we begin, we will be doing the National Anthem at the end of the meeting today because it is with great sadness. It is with great sadness that I share the news of the passing of Phil Norman, who worked as a refuse loader. Phil sadly passed away surrounded by family over the weekend. Phil joined Basildon in 2008 and dedicated the majority of his time supporting our refuse and recycling service, where he became a familiar and valued presence. Through his hard work, reliability and commitment, Phil played an important role in delivering services that our community depends on every day. I'd like to ask members and those present in the public gallery to join me in a minute's silence in memory of Phil Norman. Thank you. Thank you very much. You may take a seat. So I have received apologies for absence from Councillor Robbins, Mordecai, Aldridge and Larkin. Do we have any other apologies for absence? Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies from Councillor Brown.
Councillor Ball.
Councillor Richard Moore.
Moving on to declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest that are to be made by members? And I will take on block the Essex County Council Councillor's declaration of interest. Thank you very much. That has been noted. We are now moving on to the minutes. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was the unpaid vote leave organiser for the South Basildon East Thurrock constituency 10 years ago. With regards to my motion.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. We now move on to the minutes. Do I have your agreement that the minutes of the annual council held on the 21st of May 2026 are a true and accurate record? I'm hoping to seek the consensus of the meeting without the need for a formal vote. Oh, are we agreed? Thank you very much. We're now moving on to the announcements. I'm going to pass over to the leader of the council for an announcement, and then on to the chief executive, and then on to myself afterwards. The leader of the council.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I don't plan on making extensive announcements a habit of this administration during council meetings, but I did want to comment on a couple of issues that have arisen over the past few weeks. Mr Mayor, after the election results in May, members of 4 out of the 5 political groups on Basildon Council came together to give this council a stable administration. The Labour group chose not to participate in that process and go into opposition. That is, of course, their right. However, what we've seen over the past few weeks is not responsible opposition. We've seen a series of false and frankly disgusting allegations made against elected members and their families. In addition, the opposition have made a series of allegations about a number of our council officers who do not even have the right to reply when false comments are made about them. In particular, the monitoring officer has been subject to some of the most appalling behaviour I've ever seen towards towards an officer of a local authority from Labour's elected members. For the avoidance of doubt, the current monitoring officer was appointed on the 19th of March 2026. It will not escape people's notice that that was over 2 months before I became leader. He was approved and appointed by the previous Labour administration. We've seen the emails, they're there. And the reason they're now upset...
Mr Mayor, please, that is a complete lie and there's no evidence of that.
There is, Mr Mayor, there's evidence.
We will continue. This is announcements.
But that is a lie.
Members, Councillor Power. Councillor Power, okay? This is the announcements section of the council. This is not up for debate, okay? If you have a point of order, raise it. But again, it's not being raised. So we're going to move back to the leader of the council, who's going to continue with his announcements. We're going to continue with the announcement from the leader of the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. He was approved and appointed by the previous Labour administration. The reason they are now so upset with him is simple, because he didn't allow himself to be bullied.
Point of order, Mr Mayor. Please let the Chief Executive confirm who appointed the monitoring officer.
This is not up for debate. If you wish to raise a point of order or you wish to speak on a debate or a motion, you're more than welcome. At the moment, we are at the announcement section of the council meeting. We are at the announcement part of the council meeting. We will listen to the leader in peace. Thank you. Councillor Barnes.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. He was approved and appointed by the previous Labour administration.
Point of order, Mr Mayor. Can you let the Chief Executive clarify? Point of order 23A.
This is a lie.
The leader of the council will continue with his announcement. Please be respectful.
You have to go to the point of order.
You have to go to point of order.
I've considered your 23A point of order. No offensive words have been used. I would like to remind all councillors of the Code of Conduct. Please do not interrupt me whilst... Councillor Callaghan. Councillor Gavin Callaghan. No, you do not speak. You do not speak to residents. We will listen... Right. I am warning all council members. Councillor Turner, please. Councillor Callaghan. Councillor Callaghan. I am giving you a pre-warning. I'm giving you a pre-warning. You are not... Councillor Emma Callaghan, please can you turn on your mic and repeat exactly what you just said to the member of the public, please? Would you like to repeat those comments, Councillor Callaghan?
I respectfully withdraw that comment.
Thank you for withdrawing your comments. Councillor Gavin Callaghan, okay, please allow the leader to continue his speech in peace. If there's any more interruption, okay, we will start moving through 23A, B and C. There's no problem with us doing that tonight, okay? Please. Councillor Joseph.
I'd just like to highlight that.
Please, can you stand to speak if you're going to make a statement? Thank you.
Sorry, no, don't stand.
Fine. In that case, then, over to Councillor Barnes to continue
You
with his
cannot
announcement.
withdraw my rights for speaking. Excuse me. Hello. I was talking. There's been times when we were no, shush, don't talk to me. First of all, there's been times when it was the other way around. You hardly stood up to address the mayor, so don't talk to me like that. First of all, then secondly, I'd like to address the fact that you have residents in the back bickering and calling the former leader of the council names, and he's supposed to sit there and not say anything, and you can't remove the resident, and you're asking him to behave himself. That's not how you do it. Just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Councillor Joseph. We will ask that all members and all residents in the back to please can we remain silent whilst the leader is giving his announcement. I will hear no more of this nonsense. We will start moving through the Constitution if needed. Thank you. Councillor Barnes, would you like to continue with your announcements?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. He was approved and appointed by the previous Labour administration.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. Can we clarify this through the Chief Executive, please?
No.
This is not up for debate. This is an announcement. If you would like to discuss something during the meeting, we'll wait till we get to a motion, okay? Councillor Barnes, please continue with your speech.
The reason they are now so upset with him is simple. He didn't allow himself to be bullied and insisted on doing his job. Our monitoring officer is one of the top local government lawyers in this country. This authority has needed his expertise, as has been very ably demonstrated tonight, due to the appalling member behaviour that went on whilst they were in administration and continues from Labour, now they're in opposition. If you want us to stop having to pay top dollar for a legal expert to look at our compliance, stop behaving like children, then we won't need him anymore. As for the absurd allegations around the Rotherham rape gangs scandal, firstly, I'm taking no lectures from politicians representing the very party that presided over those events. And secondly, as they very well know, as a solicitor, the monitoring officer would have been obliged to defend.
We will have silence in the chamber while the leader is delivering his speech or delivering his announcement. If I hear one more word from any member in this chamber whilst Councillor Barnes is speaking, we will move 23A and we'll give you an official warning. Thank you. Councillor Barnes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As for the absurd allegations around the Rotherham rape gang scandal, firstly, I'm taking no lectures from politicians representing the very party that presided over those awful events. Secondly, as they very well know, as a solicitor, the monitoring officer would have been obliged to defend anyone to the best of his ability, the same way Keir Starmer was when he was in chambers and defended terrorist suspects. He didn't make excuses for the Rotherham atrocities, he uncovered the truth, which they would know if they had bothered to read the report. They have accused the monitoring officer of political bias because he represented the Conservative Party decades ago, but neglect to mention that he played a huge role in sending a Conservative council leader to prison for corruption, something I hope he isn't planning on doing to this current Conservative council leader. Our staff have the right to come to work and not find themselves the subject of social media vitriol. They have the right to feel safe and not be intimidated. I've seen the disgraceful emails that have been sent threatening people's livelihoods and futures because they dared raise questions about conduct or process. As for the frankly disgusting allegations they've made about elected members, I won't give it any more oxygen, but it gave me some confidence to see that the response from the online community wasn't what the opposition were clearly hoping for. Even their usually loyal followers recognised that a line was crossed and that the politics of envy and bitterness never works. Mr. Mayor, we should all want Basildon Council to succeed, whatever our political affiliation. The events of the last few weeks have led me to question whether some members of the Labour group actually have the public's best interests at heart.
Councillor Barnes, Can members of the public gallery, please, whilst we're going through the announcements, please, can we just ask for a little calm, please? Thank you. Just let's get through the announcements. Councillor Barnes.
To just mention, I think the member of the public gallery was saying they couldn't hear me because of the noise that was being made by councillors in the back of the chamber. The events of the past few weeks have led me to question whether some members of the Labour group actually have the public's best interests at heart, or whether they simply want to watch the world burn because the local elections didn't go the way they wanted. Let me be crystal clear. Any attempt to intimidate officers or members will not work. The officers of this council have my full and unequivocal confidence. Opposition is frustrating and difficult, but it isn't responsibility free. Any attempt by any member of any party to disrupt tonight's meeting will, I'm sure, and we've already seen it tonight, be dealt with by the Mayor via the proper process and with my full support. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I would like to now invite the Chief Executive to make an announcement. Thank you. And we'll do so in peace, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Council and members of the public. This evening, I want to raise a matter that I believe is important to the integrity of this Council and the well-being of my workforce. Over the past year, and particularly in recent weeks, we have all witnessed a concerning and escalating trend where individual council officers have been named, targeted and criticised publicly in meetings on social media platforms.
Councillor Callaghan, would you like to repeat that expletive on the mic? Would you like to say it? In that case, I'm going to move 23A for explicit language in the chamber by Councillor Callaghan. We'll take a vote on it. All those in favour? And all those... Please. All those against... And any abstentions? No abstentions. That constitution motion has been passed. Councillor Gavin Callaghan, you have been warned for your behaviour in the chamber. Okay? We're now going to move back to the Chief Executive for his announcement. You may begin from the beginning if you wish.
The officers who work for this council are dedicated public servants who are simply trying to do their jobs. They are the officers who implement the policies that you as elected members decide upon in this chamber. More importantly, they are bound by professional and political impartiality rules. They do not have the right of public reply. They cannot log onto social media to defend their character. They cannot stand up in this chamber to argue their case. But I can. When members of this council target officers by name, it's a direct attack on officers who are entirely defenceless, and this is an inappropriate way to behave. We all share a duty of care to the people who work for this authority. We rely on those officers to deliver vital services for our communities. If I continue to allow this behaviour to go unchallenged, I will continue to have conversations internally with staff who are fearful to undertake their duties in a safe, respectful work environment, and ultimately, the people who suffer are our residents. If members have a legitimate complaint about an officer, concerns about the way council services are run, or the decisions that are being made, then there are established processes to address these internally. This evening, Mr. Mayor, I urge every member in this chamber to commit to respecting our officers moving forward. This chamber is a place for debate, political debate, challenging decisions and holding leadership to account. Basildon is a great borough. It's a fantastic place to live and work. And I'm extremely proud of my team of officers who come to work every single day to support this borough. Together, we have so much to be proud of. And I believe whether you're a councillor or a member of staff, we have one purpose, and that is to serve our communities and deliver our best every single day. But to serve effectively, we need a strong, supportive and respected workforce. Real progress happens when the debate happens in this chamber constructively and that we treat our officers with the dignity that they deserve. Let us lead by example and focus our energy on building a better Basildon. Mr Mayor, that concludes my announcement this evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much to the Chief Executive for his announcement. I'm going to make my own. Members, before we begin this evening, I want to address something that's been weighing heavily on me since our last meeting on Monday. The tribute to Henry Novak should have been a moment where this chamber came together. Whatever our politics, please, I am making an announcement. Councillor Emma Callaghan. Councillor Emma Callaghan. Councillor Emma Callaghan, okay, I'm giving you a pre-warning before 23A, okay? No. I'm going to continue with my announcements, regardless of your interruption. Instead, what residents witnessed was behaviour that fell well short of the standards that they expect from those elected to represent them. The same that can be said of the extraordinary council meeting that followed. Residents watch those meetings. Residents attend these meetings. Residents pay for these meetings, and they have every right to expect better. And I also want to make something absolutely clear.
You're impugning a whole group here with no
Councillor
evidence.
Power, there's no point of order during an announcement. Thank you.
Yes, there is.
Our officers are here to serve the council and the residents of
Point of order 23A.
Basildon.
Point of order 23A. Point of order 23A.
Which you told us we had to raise in the last announcement.
You literally have just asked.
I'll take a point of order.
You're impugning a whole elected group of councillors who did attend and did stand for a minute's silence and did not act disrespectfully. You are lying. You have no proof whatsoever. You are impugning a whole group. You spent the whole last year impugning people continuously, including the chief executive next year.
Councillor Power, we are addressing your point of order. Please give us
haven't even listened
silence.
to my point of order.
You didn't even let me finish.
Okay.
Finish the point of order.
Councillor Power, please reiterate your point of order for the chamber.
Your whole announcement is impugning a group, a whole group. You have no evidence, you have no proof that this group acted in any way improperly in that minute silence. You have no proof whatsoever. So unless you're willing to show us that proof right now, your whole announcement is impugning a member, and the whole meeting on Monday was impugning a member, but forget about that, that's okay. Can you please ensure that you stop your announcement now because you have no proof for your points? And apologise.
She's saying that you have imputed improper motives to her.
Good night, everyone. I'm bothered. Get your shit together.
Fair play.
Well done, that man.
Council Secretary.
Thank you very much, Councillor Power. Your point of order has been noted and not upheld on this occasion. I will continue with my announcement. If you continue to speak, Councillor Power, okay, I'm giving you a pre-warning, like I have your colleagues today. Well, if your behaviour was impeccable, and if your behaviour was in line with the Constitution and the Code of Conduct, I'm not entering into dialogue with you, Councillor Power. We've made it very clear, okay?
Point of order 23A, Mr Mayor.
Will the member please stop shouting across the chamber at officers? Please stop shouting across the chamber. One of your colleagues, do not interrupt me. One of your colleagues has raised a point of order. Please be respectful. Please be respectful. That's fine. That's fine. Councillor Ferguson.
Mr Mayor, you've explained that you have not upheld Councillor Power's correct point of order to be able to raise, but you've not explained why. I give this opportunity to do that now.
The Constitution says that no member shall impute improper motives to any member not present in the meeting or officer whether or not present at the meeting. No member should use offensive words to or regarding members or officers whether or not present at the meeting in breach of the member's code of conduct. I've used no offensive words, therefore that is why I've not upheld the
Point of order 23A then, Mr Mayor. I believe you saying untruths to be offensive.
Then that is... Councillor Ferguson, will you allow me to address Councillor Ferguson's point of order? Thank you. Councillor Ferguson, okay? I have not impugned anybody. I've not made untruths. And if you're offended, then that is down to you. You can be offended at anything you wish to be, okay? I'm stating my announcement and I will continue to do so. And I will now continue with my announcements. Our officers are here to serve the council and the residents of Basildon. They provide professional advice. They implement decisions and they do so without a right of reply in this chamber. That means councillors have a particular responsibility in how they conduct themselves. If any member chooses tonight to personally target officers, attack officers, or seek to draw officers into political arguments when they have no opportunity to respond, I will not hesitate to act. And if necessary, as I have already, I will move a motion that the member in question be no longer heard. The Constitution is not optional. The rules apply equally to everybody, and they will be upheld. I also want to address the treatment of members of the public. Residents should never feel intimidated for attending a public meeting, and they should never feel targeted for taking an interest in local democracy. And they should never be subjected to behaviour that discourages them from participating in public life. Point of order.
Oh, it's not a point of order. I just wanted to... There was something that you just said in your statement.
Okay, well, this isn't up for debate, so we'll continue.
I just wanted to
what you want and what will happen are two completely different things, Councillor.
No. You cannot.
Unless you have a point of order, it sounds like this is a point of debate.
No. You don't shush me when I'm trying to make an appointment.
I did not use the word shush.
I'm not causing problems. I just want to tell you something.
Councillor Joseph, okay, just like your colleagues, I'm pre-warning you with 23A.
Excuse me?
If you
what
interrupt
are you warning me for?
If you interrupt,
did I not put my hand up?
If you interrupt,
what are you warning me for? Did I not put my hand up? Don't talk to me like that. Let me say what. Who's talking to you? Shush.
If you interrupt
me, let me say what I need to say. As much as you're gonna be talking about.
Yep. Quite right. I agree, absolutely. We're now going to move to Councillor. I'm now moving to you. I would also like to remind Councillor Palmer. That in the previous meeting, okay, Councillor Emma Callaghan was filming me, okay? So Well, I would like to see the evidence. We aren't debating this. You have no point of order, so I'm going to continue with my announcement. I'm being deadly serious now. Councillor Palmer, I do not have any jurisdiction outside of this chamber. If you wish to report it to the police, you are more than welcome. I'm now going to continue. I am going to continue with my announcements. Tonight, I'm asking every member of this chamber to remember why we are here. We are not here for social media clips, and we're not here for personal vendettas. We are here to represent the people of Basildon. We can disagree, and we can challenge each other, and we can debate passionately. But we must do it respectfully, professionally and within the rules. And as Mayor, I will do everything in my power to ensure this meeting is conducted in an orderly fashion. And I expect the same from every member present here today. Thank you very much for listening to the announcements. We're now going to move on to other business. So we're now moving on to petitions. I have not been notified of any petitions to be submitted. And we now move on to public question time. There have been 4 questions from the public, 2 of which have been submitted by Mrs Child and have now been amalgamated further to Procedure Rule 11, Section 1, where it states 2 or more questions wherein the opinion of the Mayor are in similar terms may be amalgamated, incorporated or amended as the Mayor thinks fit to form one question. So we will now call on, is Mrs Child present here today? No, she's not here. Do we have Mr Jackman here today? Mr Jackman has left, so if they're not in attendance, a written response will be provided.
Yeah. Can I just have a word, please? Is it on announcements? Just very quickly, as Deputy Leader. It's about an officer. But just, I just want to put on behalf of this party, like to pay credit to Anne Page, who was leaving after 13 years. This council, well, actually, she told me today it's 13 years, 8 days, 4 hours and 23 seconds. So she's done an exceptionally good. She's leaving in 8 days' time. She's been a tremendous officer, and I think from all parties, she's earned the respect of them. All I want to say is Southend's gain is our loss. So I wish you all the well, and I'm sure I'll speak on behalf of everybody else.
Although Councillor Blank, it probably wasn't in the Constitution and in the agenda to do that, we do appreciate your words, and I'm sure Anne Page would appreciate it as well. I think we are all in a unanimous view that she was a fantastic officer, and the elected members and the officers of Southend have gained a tremendous officer, and we have lost someone who is just equally as amazing. So we will now move on to members' questions. So we have a question from to Councillor Barnes, Leader of the Council and Cabinet Member for Finance and Strategy. Oh no, sorry, apologies. That was Mrs Child's question. Okay, let's move on.
Question number 3 to Councillor Schrader.
Okay. So question number 3 for Councillor Schrader, Cabinet Member for Planning and Infrastructure. Apologies, Mr Jackman has left. So we'll move on to members' question time, and there's been 5 questions submitted by members of the Council. 1 supplementary question is permitted. If the time limit of 30 minutes is reached, then the member who has submitted the question will receive a response in writing. Question 1 from Councillor Kerry Smith. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My question is to Councillor George Jeffrey. What was the total volume by area and weight of fly-tip waste collected by the Council in Crays Hill, Vange and Pitsea during the last municipal year?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Instances of fly tipping are reported to DEFRA using the nationally recognised fly capture database. This is not recorded by specific locations or weights, but to nationally recorded measures to allow comparison. In 2025-26, 4,359 instances of fly tipping were removed from the Borough of Basildon.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jeffrey. Councillor Smith, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My supplementary question is straightforward. Vange clearly has a greater population than Crays Hill. Vange has a problem with fly tipping. So should the people of Vange now apply for a Billericay postcode so they can have clean streets as we left them?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't agree with the summation from Councillor Smith. This is about fair and equitable use of the crunch across the entire borough. And what I would say is that in Crays Hill, part of it is actually Note Bridge, which does suffer from a lot of fly tipping, and that actually has an SS15 postcode, which is Basildon. Thank you.
We also have a second question from Councillor Smith.
Councillor Baggott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can a verbal update, this is to Councillor Baggott, be provided on the effectiveness of the measures introduced in April to control pigeon activity within the Basildon town centre?
I thank Councillor Smith for his question. It's always a pleasure to receive a question from you. Thank you. Yes, the measures that you put into place, which was to manage the pigeons, resulted in a population reduction of over 150.
And do you have a supplementary question, Councillor Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Due to the effectiveness of this, because it's quite clear anyone who walks through the town centre, we're now seeing pigeon grains laying on the floor because there's not the pigeons to eat them. In our nearby blocks of flats, that would affect my ward, St Martin's, Lee Chapel South, Lee Chapel North and the like. Could the HRA be persuaded, after a conversation with Councillor Turner, to get another pigeon hawker to go through our blocks of flats and speak to Clarion Housing, because many of the blocks of flats in this borough are being plagued with pigeons, and we've seen the effectiveness in the town centre. I think this is a win-win for our tenants and leaseholders, and of course we was formed as local authorities in the Victorian area to protect the public health, and this project is doing the job. And I just ask, can we extend this to our social housing? Thank you.
Well, that was a question that Councillor Turner is far better positioned to answer than myself, given that it was addressed to him and affects his portfolio. But he's heard what you had to say, and I'd hope that Councillor Turner, in due course, will give you the response that you would deserve.
Thank you very much. We now have a question from Councillor Melissa McGeorge to Councillor George Jeffrey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask the Cabinet Member what criteria was used to determine the locations for the July crunch sessions and why the Vange and Langdon Hills area were not included.
Councillor Jeffrey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are pleased to have actually announced 4 new crunch dates throughout the 2026-27 year and have identified 6 sites across the borough for the next date on the 4th of July. With 6 sites, residents won't have to actually travel far to be able to use the crunch. Thank you.
Councillor McGeorge, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you very much. Given that the number of crunches will be reduced this year from next year, are we going to ensure that the crunches are going to south of the 127 where fly tipping rates are higher? Whilst we do need to spread, we need to make sure that we're hitting the fly tipping areas a lot more strongly.
Councillor Jeffrey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hope Councillor McGeorge follows our Facebook. We did some good work with my colleague Councillor Baggott on enforcing against rogue traders with waste, so hopefully she can support our measures on that. What I would say is that this is actually, there are all parts of the borough that suffer from fly tipping, so we're making sure it rotates around the borough fairly. So I would just say it's actually about fairness, something the last administration knew nothing about.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jeffrey. We now move on to a question from Councillor Jack Ferguson for Councillor Danny Lawrence.
Thank you. I'd like to ask the Cabinet Member for Culture, Sport and Youth how much additional capital investment will be allocated to the Towngate Theatre renovations for improvements during the current and next financial years.
I thank Councillor Ferguson for the question. As he would understand that before any capital investment be allocated, it is important that we get a new report. The current report is 5 years out of date for the scope of works for any renovation and improvements, so we have a better understanding of the works required. When this is completed, we will have a better understanding of that capital investment, and we'll do a report, and I'm more than willing to share the report to you of the cost.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ferguson, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you to the Cabinet Member for that response, although I'm slightly confused because only 2 weeks ago I heard from the Leader of the Council announcements of additional investment into the Towngate Theatre itself. So we know that additional investment is already planned. The Leader of the Council neglected to tell us how much and what for, so it's clear that we're getting policy announcements without any additional investment being confirmed what that's for. So could the Cabinet Member please tell us tonight the additional subsidy that the council taxpayer will need to fund to support the investments going forward?
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. As already said, when the report comes to us and we know exactly how much we're going to, is needed, I will be able to give you that information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lawrence. Our final question of members' question time is from Councillor Emma Callaghan to Councillor Baggott.
Thank you, Chair. Dear Councillor Baggott, what steps are you taking with partners to reduce prostitution in the borough?
Well, I thank Councillor Mrs Callaghan for the question. It's a bizarrely odd and specific question. I am going to play a straight bat because I am working on the presumption that neither she nor her husband have been involved in that particular area. I am going to further...
excuse me, 23A. 23A.
Further hope
23A.
Point of order.
Point of order.
Can I ask what the point of order is, please?
Absolutely disgusting comment to make.
Disgraceful comment about the leader of the Labour.
And if you didn't mean it in the way, and if you
Councillor
didn't,
Power, I'm taking
called
from
the
your
point of
colleague.
order.
Okay, there's about 3 points of orders. We'll take it in order that it was received. Would you like? Thank you. Would you like to continue? John and Mike. Sorry.
Mr Baggott inferred, Councillor Baggott then, inferred that Councillor Gavin Callaghan was responsible for the use of prostitution in the borough. That is absolutely... no,
Oh God,
no, he didn't.
Well, he needs to clarify his point then.
It sounded like that to me.
Thank you very much. Councillor Baggott, I just would like to confirm that he wasn't inferring that Councillor Gavin Callaghan used prostitutes now,
and
were
for
you?
anybody that's watching the video recording, they'll be able to see what I said. I said I am working on the presumption that neither Mrs Callaghan nor Councillor Callaghan are involved in that sort of area. Now, that it cannot be an accusation of when I'm saying I presume that they're not. So, can I continue with the answer? Furthermore, and not was going to be flippant, but I probably won't be now, that I would hope that there are no colleagues of the Labour group that are now contemplating that particular vocation to supplement their allowances that they've lost. So I'm going to answer the question based upon the fact...
I'm sorry, no. I can't.
Councillor Baggott.
It's absolutely disgusting comment to make.
Councillor Power, I'm about to speak to Councillor Baggott about what he said
And I'm
there.
allowed to call a point of order on the fact of what he just said about us.
Point of order.
23A, his comment was disgusting.
Councillor Baggott, I'm giving you a pre-warning to 23A. That was out of line. So.
Well, I apologise then. I'm not going to say I
Withdraw
hope
your
they
comment,
do.
sir.
I'm just saying I hope they don't.
I think it may have been...
But I apologise.
I think it could have been misconstrued, Councillor Baggott, so I implore you, are you finished with the answer to your question?
No.
No, you may continue.
Yes. So, in answer to the question, playing with the straight bat, that it's been asked for a specific reason, I have actually been in contact with the police. They have confirmed that there are no evidence, and there has been nothing that they are aware of that constitutes a rise in prostitution anywhere within the borough, and they've had very little reporting of issues within the borough. They did suggest that if Councillor Mrs Callaghan has a specific concern or a specific incident, that they should report it to them, which is quite rightfully the thing to do. From a law and order point of view, I have been very, very clear. What my ambitions are this year is that we will be tightening up on the tenants' handbook to actually make sure that we can be more forceful for when tenants who have a property, not by right, but by privilege, we can take sanctions on them for antisocial behaviour and the blight that puts on members of the community where we get antisocial behaviour from council tenants. We will be working very hard to bring in a zero tolerance message, although we can't deliver necessarily zero tolerance, but we can certainly send a message to the public of where we stand with regards to law and order and criminality. We will be working to make our town centres and high streets safer by utilisation of a proper and professional security force, which we will be looking at and hoping to bring to council at some point in the future. And we will be looking to utilise the forces of POCA to actually help to raise money for the council and transfer proceeds of criminal activities into something positive for our community.
Thank you very much, Councillor Baggott. Councillor Emma Callaghan, do you have a supplementary?
God, where do I start? But thank you for that, you know, and I did ask you for a reason. As you know, I did chair the Women's Safety Forum previously as a Cabinet member, and the Head of Community Safety will confirm that residents did raise with me that there weren't enough reporting channels for unofficial residencies in the borough that were suspected of having you know, illegitimate practices there related to prostitution. And my supplementary is, will you commit to an independent investigation into allegations of inappropriate sexual conduct towards women living in temporary accommodation at Arn Court, including allegations involving a counsellor?
I think that any allegations from any lady with regard to anything like that should be treated seriously. It should go through the proper authorities, and we would, I would hope, support and work in conjunction with those authorities to get the right answer. So if there are allegations being made, those allegations, that person should be encouraged to come forward. It can be very, very daunting for somebody, especially if somebody unfortunately is in a position of power or is a counsellor, to you know, sort of actually make that reporting. But as we've seen with examples of women that have been abused in all walks of life, in all sorts of spheres of employment, it takes just one person to come forward that actually can get major change and hopefully mental change with regard to the way people treat and approach women. It's totally unacceptable to have any form of inappropriate behaviour towards a woman, in my view, and I would encourage her to bring that forward. What's more, with her experiences that she had as the chair of that, if she's got any ideas how we could strengthen that, I'm only too happy to have a conversation with her and to work together with her to actually improve that particular aspect.
Thank you very much, Councillor Baggott. We are now moving on to item 8, which is actions taken on previously agreed motions. This is still to be received, so therefore no vote is... Oh, we still have it, okay, fine. So actions taken on previously agreed motions, it has been received but there is no vote needed. We are now moving on to number 9, which is annual report of the Overview and Scrutiny Commission, which is held over from the 19th of March. However, because this has this only has historic relevance, and the fact that Councillor Harrison moved to adjourn the meeting for after the election, I've asked to pass this report without debate. Do we have consensus in the chamber?
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you.
You've accused me of something I don't know what you're
consensus?
talking about there. You've just
speak on it, Councillor Harrison.
Councillor Harrison has asked this to go after the election. I don't know what you're talking about there. First of all, this isn't Councillor Harrison's report. This is Councillor Hilliard's report, and for the overview and scrutiny. And second of all, I've had no, I've not had any reason to move this beyond the election. So please clarify what you mean by that when you called me out.
Sorry, I would like to clarify. It was Councillor Hilliard. Sorry, that was my apologies. I misread the paperwork we have here. But it has been received, and under the Constitution, I've decided that no vote is needed. But however, if members would like to vote on it now, we will take a vote on whether it's proceeded or not. Proceed. Proceed. I think we have a. So that has been noted, thank you. We're now moving on to the annual report of the Audit and Risk Committee. And again, I have been asked to pass this report without debate. Are we all in favour? So we're now moving on to agenda item 11, establishment of committees and associated issues. I'm calling on Councillor Barnes to move the recommendations. He does not require a seconder. And then we'll open the matter for debate. Please can we ensure that we have silence in the chamber as he's delivering his speech. Thank you. Councillor Barnes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This won't be a particularly long one. Just to give context to any members of the public who were watching and wondered what was the result with the last two items. Basically, the previous administration had two opportunities to comment on the annual report of the Scrutiny Commission and the Audit and Risk Committee. They declined to do so, so we are passing those without debate. In terms of the establishments and committees and associated issues, you can all read. So basically it's there, it's for noting. I suggest we move on.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have had this long-standing custom in this council. If you disagree with something that's been said earlier but relevant, we wait until the appropriate time, make a point and sit down. I wish to pull up something relevant to this that the leader said in his announcements, that he had the support of 4 political groups. My group has no whip, and my group did not support your order paper, but 2 members of my group, as I said, we're not whipped, chose to support your order paper. So I'd just like to clarify that you have the support of 3 out of 5 groups. My group, along with the Labour group, is a part of the official opposition, and I would just like that put on the record. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your indulgence.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith. We are opening this matter up for debate. Do we have any other speakers on the matter? No. Councillor Barnes, would you like to wind up?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to come back on Councillor Smith's point, 2 of your members voted for the order paper. So.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barnes. We're now moving on to item number 12, and this is the interim review of Members' Allowance Scheme and the report of the Independent Remuneration Panel. I'm now calling on Councillor Barnes to move the recommendations. He does not require a seconder, and then we'll open up the matter for debate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I, on behalf of the Council, thank the Independent Panel for all their hard work on this report. It is very extensive and detailed, and having been interviewed in some depth by the panel, I can attest personally to their diligence. It was quite the interview, I don't mind saying. As you know, the convention is that the recommendations of the panel are accepted without alteration. By ensuring that members' allowances and special responsibility allowances are independently reviewed, we ensure that the process remains fair and robust. It also means that local politics doesn't remain the preserve of those who can afford to take time away from work commitments or are retired, and we recognise the excellent work that councillors do. However, members will also be aware that in the next item we are discussing a proposal that will increase the cost of democracy by a small amount. Under the circumstances, I do not think it would be appropriate to accept an increase in councillor allowances whilst also increasing the overall cost of the political administration. For this reason, Mr. Mayor, I would ask that you take item 1 individually and then items 2 and 6 en bloc, if you don't mind. This will allow the Council to show the appropriate respect for the Independent Remuneration Committee and to accept the report and its findings in full, whilst at the same time recognising that we believe an increase in the cost of democracy this year can be better spent elsewhere. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So the recommendation is that this council considers the findings and recommendations of the Independent Remuneration Panel as set out in enclosure number 1 and consider whether to make any amendments to the council scheme of allowances for members as follows. Number 1, members' allowances be uplifted by 3.2% in line with the Officer Pay Award for 2025-26 and backdated to the 1st of April 2025. The provision of IT equipment compliant with cybersecurity requirements continue with no reinstatement of the IT allowance. Further training in IT provided to members, including on the Print Anywhere function, the Security and Digital Services Technical Manager, has hosted an initial drop-in session and additional sessions should be arranged as required. The Council's IT department reviewed members' use of non-council printers and mobile phones to ensure that this does not compromise cybersecurity. A further review of member allowances undertaken during the shadow year for the new unitary authorities under LGR and agree to extend the appointments of the current independent review panel members for 2 years. We will now...
But he's only moving.
In that case, we will now take a vote on. Oh, okay, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought everyone was going to want to speak on this, but clearly not. I'd like to thank the leader for separating the vote. I sit on the Constitutional Working Group at County Hall, and I don't often say nice things about reform, but your group at Essex are absolutely right. They're freezing the allowances at Essex, and we should freeze the allowances here. I appreciate the hard work of the Independent Remuneration Panel. Two of them of my constituents, and they're very good, and I'm glad we're able to separate that vote and keep them on. They're very good people, and they're apolitical. But when people are being crucified because of these greedy, grubby energy companies, you know, a few boats can't get down the Strait of Hormuz, and it's like, oh, we've got to have the energy cap, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. It's summertime, they can start getting the gas back from the Middle East, stock up for winter, but it doesn't stop these greedy energy companies. And you talk to people and they're worried. So if us politicians take this pay rise, it's very Marianne Antoinette-esque. And we had the option of bringing this forward to council well before Keir Starmer had a gut attack when Reform tabled that judicial review and wobbled, because we thought there's not going to be elections, but myself and Gavin went, we're not going to table this because we can't disagree with the Independent Remuneration Panel, but we can vote against, and we just put it on ice, never thought there'd be elections, but we was not going to give ourselves a pay rise. And I think there should be no pay rise at all for councillors this year. I don't disagree with what the report is saying, but when there are people being squeezed by these greedy, rotten, corrupt energy companies who are 1 minute pleading poverty and the next minute wasting customers' money on adverts, why should we be taking the pay rise? So I will be voting against the recommendation to increase wages. These things, Mr. Mayor, members, £1,750 was spent in every one of these unbranded Mickey Mouse laptops. They are utter junk. Two of my colleagues who are no longer in this chamber, I was their laptop's personal chauffeur, constantly packing up. My colleague Councillor Larkin, Chairman of Planning, she's constantly having problems. When I bought a new personal computer just after Christmas, I showed my friend in the trade, what's that worth? He went, you should be paying as a council no more than £600. When I told him the price, he went, I'll have to start tendering for work with Basildon Council. And I asked Essex County Council how much they paid for their laptops, £450. So we should be finding out why this council spent £1,750 on these laptops. That's what I'd like to say on the matter, and I'll leave it there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith. Just on your point regarding the laptops at Essex County Council, they paid £1,350 for them. No, yeah, well, they were £1,350. I've seen the invoice. We would like to now move. Does anybody else wish to speak on the matter?
To take the vote separately.
We're going to take a vote on recommendation number 1. All those in favour of increasing members' allowances, please raise their hand. All those against?
Motion's lost.
It is unanimous in the motion being lost, so the increase to council allowances will not happen. We will now move on to items 2 through 6, I believe. Yep.
Give me the papers back, I'll tell you.
No problem. Do we have any speakers on that particular area? No. All those in favour, please raise their hand. All those against? Any abstentions? That has been carried.
Mr. Mayor, sorry to interrupt, but may it be put on record in the minutes that Labour voted against that part of the motion as well?
No, because the
Thank you very much. Each individual vote is recorded. We're now moving on to item number 13, political assistance. Pass over to the Leader of the Council to move this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. First of all, can I apologise for the late circulation of this paper? That was entirely my fault due to some IT issues. Local authority political assistants are local government employees who undertake research and provide administrative support for the main political groups within an authority. The existence of these posts allows a separation of professional, officer and political roles. Unlike the previous role of head of the office of the leader, the political assistant role is available to all three main parties on the council, and the divide between the political and officer corps is much clearer. The role of political assistants in a local authority is politically restricted. This means that holders cannot stand for election, act as an agent, be officer of a political party, canvass, campaign or stand for any political party. The three largest political groups on the authority qualify for a political assistant, provided the membership makes up at least 10% of the total elected members on the authority. As members will know, in this instant, that will mean that the Conservatives, Labour and Reform groups will be entitled to appoint. We expect the salary range for these positions to be around half the salary previously paid to the leader's office role. In addition, by foregoing an allowances increase, we have further offset additional costs, with the remainder being found from within existing budgets. Members will be aware that member conduct is a significant issue at Basildon Borough Council. The Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government wrote to this authority in February expressing concern and obliging the Chief Executive to develop an action plan to improve member behaviour and relationships. And I think tonight has proved that we certainly need it.
Absolutely.
One of the steps outlined in the CEX's reply is that the appointment of political assistants will allow for better relationships between political groups, and communication between groups that does not necessitate elected members to communicate directly with each other, something which has been shown both tonight and on previous occasions to cause friction at this authority in the past and indeed in the present. Mr Mayor, this marks a significant departure from the previous political structure of the council. Rather than former party officials being appointed quietly into officer roles, we are doing so through the council and a democratic vote. Rather than paying excessive salaries, we are banding these roles in line with the government guidance, which reflects their value. Rather than confusing lines of accountability between the political and the administrative, the rules around these roles are clear. They have no authority over professional officers, which is exactly how it should be. And rather than concentrating political support within the administration, we are offering it to both main opposition parties, which I believe will deliver better results for members and, more importantly, the residents we represent. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barnes. And now moving over to Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Due to the lateness of this report being published and able to see it this evening, is there any opportunity to make an amendment?
Like 72 hours ago. We couldn't have an amendment 72 hours ago, but we could have one now.
I think given the late circulation, it is reasonable to allow an amendment. Councillor Smith, would you like to propose your amendment?
Yes, yes, please. It's rather straightforward that the word free political assistance are strike through in this document and the creation of a new pride team to clean up the borough. That's what residents want, not tea makers for politicians. Gavin, do you want to second it? Councillor Greenwood.
That particular amendment wouldn't be considered in line with the Constitution. So would you like to offer, I'll give you an opportunity to offer another alternative amendment.
Okay. That the word political assistant be changed to free road sweepers. That's what residents want.
Yeah. I think so too. Yep. You tell them.
Not a tease made.
Councillor Smith, if that is how you wish to propose your amendment, then we will hear it. All those in favour of... No, you'd like to speak as well? Oh, you'd like to second it? No worries, you can second it, no problem at all. Councillor Power, okay? Once, twice, three times you have interrupted me this evening, okay? I'm giving you a pre-warning of 23A, okay? Thank you. Would you like to speak? Oh. Fine. It has been seconded. Any speakers on the amendment? Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. One thing residents contact, I think, all councillors about is fly tipping and rubbish. And one thing people, and I'm sure Councillor Baker will testify to, he's held this brief of waste, is that you can never have enough road sweepers. And that's the view I take. If we're going to hire 3 employees for this authority, I think residents sincerely would like to see 3 people making their streets cleaner than 3 people who can serve any political group of a particular size and do all their lacqueying and tease work. I think for a councillor, you have to get your hands dirty, you have to do your casework, you have to do your own research. Because when, say for example, I'm having a row with Councillor Turner, it has been known, right? I like to know the facts, and Councillor Turner knows the facts, and we will argue the toss because we've done our homework. And I think having political assistance takes that skill away from councillors, that bit of knowledge. Everyone's entitled to their opinions. I would just ask members, the public would like to see clean and straight, and someone going, there, councillor, there's your cup of tea and your creamy biscuits. That's not what it's about. Well, it's about, you know, serving the people. Thank you, Mr Mayor and members for your indulgence.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith. It would be remiss of me not to say why did this not happen in the previous administration, but we'll move on to new speakers. Any further speakers on the matter? Any further speakers? Councillor Baker? On the amendment, please. On the amendment? Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a very quick point. We didn't have this in the previous administration because we had area committees that sorted the prior teams out and cleaned up our boroughs.
Thank you very much, Councillor Harrison. Do we have any further speakers on the amendments? No, we'll move straight into the vote on the amendment. All those in favour of Councillor Smith's amendment, please raise your hand. All those against? Any abstentions? Note that amendment has not been passed. Thank you for that, Councillor Smith. We will now go back to the original motion. Do we have any further speakers? Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to check something, if I may. So, 3 times by £86,034 of public money is £258,102 of public money, not £232,295 worth of public money. And furthermore, £232,294 is not a multiple of 3. So could we please confirm how much this hired help is being paid? Thank you.
I'm just taking some advice on that, Councillor Baker. Thank you for raising that. So this does also, so to answer your question, Councillor Baker, it does include a 10% vacancy rate as well, so we will come back to you with exact figures on that from the Chief Executive and the 151 officer. Councillor Callaghan, I believe you're next to speak. Okay, Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've seen some reports in my time, but something coming out 2 hours before a meeting that's asking this council to spend what the leader of the council describes as a small sum of money at the cost of £256,000 to the Basildon Council taxpayers' money, I dread to think. Very, very small amounts of money. The last time I addressed this chamber, I addressed the reasons why I couldn't support the order paper. I couldn't support the order paper because it done away with the area committees. Area committees that over the last 12 months had invested £300,000 for charities and community groups to invest in the services that our very residents depend on across this borough. But what the leader of the council wants us to vote on to do tonight is spend £256,000 on 3 members of staff to do the jobs that the public elected us to do in the first place. That is not acceptable. The public elected us to serve them. They elected us to come up with the ideas. It's what we stood to the electorate to be able to do. Perhaps he should have stood to the electorate with the ideas before the electorate, rather than coming to us after the election, asking for political assistance to come up with the ideas for him. But no, we don't have that. What we have tonight is a rushed report, poorly thought out, at a cost to £256,000 to the Basildon Council taxpayer, where we could invest that in the very services that our residents depend on, the very community groups that need access to that support. And before he comes back later on and talks about the work of the area committees, let me say to him that the area committees really strengthened the relationships between all councillors and all of our wards. In my ward in St Martin's, the Basildon Area Committee was able to invest in youth services, able to invest in older persons' activities, able to invest in facility upgrades, able to give residents services that they've been asking for a long time. That's what they elected us to be able to do. Not bring in people to do our jobs for us, not bring in people to do our casework for us. So what we are seeing tonight is a choice. You can vote for this tonight if you want to, as the administration seem wanting to be able to do. Or you can actually reject this, and we can actually look at best value for money, being able to invest in the services that our residents depend on, being able to trust councillors across our wards, and being able to invest back in youth services, being able to put that money back into older persons' activities, being able to really trust the councillors across this borough that were elected, that put their ideas before the electorate, to actually carry out the will of the people that they asked us to do. That's what I ask council to do tonight, to reject this rushed, ill-thought-out report and invest £256,000 back into our resident services rather than 3 members of staff that are doing our jobs for us. Thank you.
Councillor Gavin Callaghan.
Council, the collective amnesia on the Reform and Tory benches tonight is alarming. 72 hours ago, we were in this place getting all het up about £9,000 being spent constitutionally and lawfully. And yet tonight, 72 hours later, they want to nod through over £250,000 to be spent on helping them, as we've just heard, do the basics in their job. I don't think that there are too many people in this borough that would look at this council, especially after tonight, and conclude that the answer is to make it more politically toxic.
Yeah, very true.
But here we are, because what we're being asked tonight to do is to agree campaigning on the rates. We're being asked to agree a grubby report published 2 hours before the meeting, littered with lies. And I draw attention to point 1 of the executive summary, and if we're allowed to move amendments, I move this. Following the municipal elections in May 2026, group leaders expressed a wish to make appointments of political assistants. Let me tell you, I made no such request. The only people who made requests... No, I'm still going.
Councillor Callaghan.
The only people... I haven't moved my amendment.
No, I know, but...
I haven't moved
Councillor
my
Callaghan,
you see what happens, Pete?
the report does not say all group leaders.
The report says...
That's exactly what it says.
Group leaders. It says group leaders. Read it. It says group leaders.
It doesn't say all group leaders. It says group leaders.
Oh, that's what £1,500
Councillor
a day
Power,
buys you.
you have done this too many times this evening. Okay, We are now moving 23A. We are moving 23A. You have been rude. You've interrupted. You've interrupted your colleague. You've interrupted your
I'm
colleague.
making a speech and he interrupts me. I feel so bruised. I can't seem to make a speech in this council chamber. I can't do 10 seconds without being interrupted. Here we go. I know, but the reality is they've messed up their wording because they've rushed it, and now we're all getting it in the neck. Can I carry on?
If Councillor Power wishes to be silent whilst you're speaking, I'm more than happy for you to carry on,
Well,
Councillor
I
Callaghan.
hope I can, in the words of our friend in America, reclaim my time. When we've got this here, well, I want to be absolutely explicit. The only group leaders that have asked for £250,000 of public money to be spent is the leader of Reform and the leader of the Conservative group. Labour and the Independents have not once asked for this. Right? There's also huge gaps in this. It hasn't gone to scrutiny. We were promised, were we not, in this council chamber, David Abrahall stood up and told us all the red lines. We were going to have more scrutiny than ever before. This hasn't gone to scrutiny. In fact, Councillor Hopton's got a meeting next week. There's only one item on the agenda. They could have put this on there. I mean, it's just as bad as the Cabinet report, which is a Cabinet agenda with only one item on it as well. But why wasn't this taken to scrutiny to be looked at? There's no money in it. The 151 isn't here tonight, we're told, because he's on annual leave, but there's no money in it. This council's got a £5.5 million budget gap in its MTFS, and yet we're told that we're going to come up with £250,000. From where? You haven't told us where you're going to find this money. And then you say, next year we'll come up with more. That means £5.75 million of savings have to be made in the budget this year. Where is that money coming from? The council is also giving delegations to the monitoring officer to change the constitution. That will go well. And we're also being told that the role of the political assistants is to undertake research and provide administrative support. The leader suggested in his contribution that this is akin to having a head of a leader's office. Well, the legislation, I've just checked it here, and for £1,500 a day, we'll get told if I'm wrong.
Councillor Callaghan, please do not impugn officers. I made it very, very
made it
clear.
Really clear that's not impugning an officer, it is a fact.
You are trying to draw out an officer this evening.
Yes, I am. I'm trying to get the
Please
legal
continue with
opinion
your
of the
speech
monitoring
or
officer.
take
Am I not
a
allowed?
seat.
Am I not allowed to get the opinion?
You're trying to draw out your behaviour towards the monitoring officer over the last few weeks has been
here we go.
egregious. Okay,
I
you
wanna
have
know
drawn
from a
out this
legal
monitoring
point of
officer
view.
again.
We've got a report here.
Continue with your speech without
We have a
impugning or
report
trying
here,
to draw out officers.
And we
You may
have
continue,
a
but
suggestion
please,
from the
you are
leader of the
warned.
council that what we are being asked to vote on tonight is akin to the same thing as a head of a leader's office. That is not true. There is no legal basis for that argument to be advanced and to be made. What they are going to be here to do, apparently, is to do councillors' casework, to write councillors' speeches, to come up with councillors' questions. Well, what is the purpose and the point of having a councillor? And apparently, with on costs, we're going to be paying these people £80,000 a year. That's what Reform and the Conservatives want us to do. No wonder they all look so sheepish. That's what wasn't on a single one of their leaflets. And we all know what's happening here. We've never had political assistance on this council. The Conservatives have obviously had to do a deal with Reform in order to become the leader of the council. He's had to stand up here tonight and he's had to move this. And I just say this is completely and utterly rushed. 2 hours before the meeting, we get this report. It is terrible. As I said, there's no financials in this. The 151 hasn't run through this with any of the group leaders. Apparently, we're being told that the chief executive has sent a letter off around intervention to MHCLG where he suggested this. Well, that hasn't been shared with any of the group leaders. I haven't seen any of that. I don't think Councillor Smith has. Councillor Brockman is shaking her head as well. So what is this intervention and how much more money is that letter to MHCLG supposedly going to cost the taxpayers of Basildon? And I would just say this. If I had done this, could you imagine? Right? If I'd have said that we are going to spend £250,000 hiring political help to come into the council to help us to beat Reform and the Tories, I'd have been hung, drawn and quartered by the public. And rightly so. And I just say very clearly to
Councillor
Reform...
Callaghan, you're nearly at your 3 minutes. Would you like to propose your amendment,
5
please?
minutes, and I'm nowhere near the end. So
I will be the one to tell you that.
No.
I am keeping an eye on the time,
I
not
will
you.
be. I will be. I get 5 minutes in the Constitution, and I decide when I'm going to move an
I
amendment if
decide
I choose
who
to
speaks.
do that.
You've nearly had 5 minutes. You've got 30 seconds
I'm
left.
reclaiming my time.
That
All these interruptions. And I just say this to people.
the irony.
I mean, listen, I'm more than happy to have a one-to-one debate, but you wouldn't like it. So that's why you're going to have to sit there and listen to me. Okay? Reform councillors are looking sheepish tonight because they are being asked to spend £250,000. Or maybe they're not. Maybe they're in favour. Maybe they're going to do it. £250,000. Then if they do and they hire a reform political assistant, do you know what that person can do on day one? Get the DBS checks in. Yes. They can make sure all of the DBS checks are in, can't they, Councillor? And we'll get them all published
Callaghan,
as well.
you are impugning a member. You're impugning members of Reform. You're impugning members of Reform UK and those across the chamber. If you're going to propose an amendment, propose it now or take a seat. Your time is up.
Let us be clear. Let us be clear.
Please propose your amendment, Councillor Callaghan.
I have to be able to speak to propose
yes,
it.
okay.
So turn your mic off and listen. £250,000. That is what we are being asked to do tonight for politicians' helpers. The report literally says in front of you that there is no current budget provision. This is politics before the people's priorities. Cuts to the crunch, cuts to charities, cuts to voluntary groups, but 250 grand for political help in this council. The public is going to see this for exactly what this is. This is the Tories and Reform spending public
Councillor Callaghan,
money
please
to
can you
campaign
propose your
on
amendment?
The rates. My amendment is very simple. Well, I've got two. Throw the whole thing out. But the second one, in executive summary, following the municipal elections in May 2026, the Conservative and Reform group leaders expressed a wish to make appointments of political assistants. That is my amendment. Councillor Smith will second it. And I think we should put that. You've got to text your group to tell them how to vote. Get your phones out, lads. You've got to vote against, because Gavin Callaghan's proposed it. Our accountant friend who's looking at me, he knows this is a bad £250,000 to be spent. Have you touched them?
Do they all know?
So you all got it? Yep. That's my amendment. It's been seconded by Councillor Smith. I'm happy to continue. I have lots more to say on this as well. You want me to? Okay, I'll carry on. So in terms of the report cannot point to a
Councillor Callaghan, you cannot amend the executive summary, you can only amend the recommendation. So which part of the recommendation are you amending?
I would like to add to the recommendations 4.0 that this council understands that the Conservative and Reform group leaders wish to make appointments of political assistants. I agree, Councillor Abraham, it's a disgrace, but there we are. This is where we are.
Thank you very much, Councillor Callaghan. Give me 2 minutes while I speak to the monitoring officer.
Can I carry on with speaking to my amendment?
Of course you can, absolutely.
Thanks very much. So, there is not a single point in this report where you can point to any service improvement. What is the value for money? Where is the best value in this report tonight? What are you actually going to get? If you're a resident sat here, how do you benefit from me spending £50,000, £60,000 on hiring somebody to come in here and write speeches, questions and campaign on the rates? You don't. And as Councillor Hilliard pointed out, we could have 172 crunches. We would have no fly tipping in the Basildon Borough, and our refuse collectors would be well happy with the overtime. There'd be quids in, and we'd be able to have a much cleaner borough with this money. I find it really odd that the Conservatives and Reform have wanted to push this through tonight. They want to create political assistance. But as Councillor Ferguson said, we never once saw this on any election leaflets. We haven't seen this in any of your social media posts. So you have no mandate to do this from the public. And again, we have to know where the money is coming from. So what are you cutting back on this year? And it's not an insignificant sum of money. £250,000 is a lot of money in our revenue budget. So what is it that you are cutting back on? Or are you going to increase the council tax? Is that something that you're planning to do in order to pay for it next year? A 2% rise in the council tax gives this council about £330,000 of additional revenue. Is that something that you're going to do? I mean, between them, Councillor Barnes and Janae, off camera, are laughing between them. But they haven't told us how they're paying to pay for their mates to come in and be officers of the council.
Councillor Callaghan, I'm not laughing at you at all. I'm simply smiling. Is one not allowed to smile? I'm enjoying your speech today. You may carry on.
Again, we're debating. I'll tell you what I'm going to enjoy, when you go out to the public and tell them you've just done $250,000 on hiring political hires. The governance risk section reads like a warning label in this report as well, and I think that is something that we should. Risks around neutrality, accountability, perceived bias, staff tensions, public trust, they are all acknowledged in the report. Now, we were treated, I think is the word, on Monday to a ChatGPT special about transparency, openness and accountability. It went on and on and on, right? And in that speech, if Councillor Aberhall agrees with any of what he said on Monday night, he'll vote against this evening. I appreciate, I'm looking forward to it. So is Chatty Petey. Members are also, as I said, being asked to sign a blank cheque tonight, and I think that is the height of fiscal irresponsibility. All of the stuff that you see on social media about the £9,000 for this, or about the £800 million of debt, or all of the other stuff that's been out there, the Conservative and Reform group leaders...
Councillor Callaghan, please can you wrap up? You've gone well over your time now. If you can wrap up for us, and then we'll consider your amendment.
You and Councillor Barnes have decided, Councillor Genet and Councillor Barnes, you two only, Councillor Smith, Councillor Brockman, Councillor Callaghan, we have had nothing to do with this. This is on you two. You want to spend £250,000 of public money hiring political help on this council. You're a disgrace.
We're going to adjourn for 10 minutes so each group can discuss the amendment proposed by Councillor Callaghan. Thank you.
Let's go now, group one. Let's come in the group room.
Which bag are you going to coat from?
Thank you, ladies. Alan mentioned the handwritten note centre. I'd like to say the classy thing that you did.
I'm a great believer in the last staff. Thank you. I thought you did it so well. Oh, yeah. Stand up.
We're the only people that did. I think it meant a lot to him that you two sent that to him, and Richard as well. Yeah. I feel ashamed.
Well, he has us, Kevin, on there. Kevin is just telling him. But we told them on the thing is, what's he going to do with it? I don't want him to. He wanted to delete the whole video. I know we're on here, but we, you know, that's
on the
because
telly
we know
as well.
that. But he had it facing here.
Yeah,
And
I know,
that's
yeah, that's
the
what I
background.
know.
But it's personal use. I didn't think you'd be allowed. No, we're not. It's not allowed.
I thought, I'm not sitting here.
He's going to come out and he's going to say, you come out and we want you to like to us because of that situation. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. You know, it's just not. No, it's not acceptable at all.
So the Muppet Show with that lot, isn't it?
Absolute buffoons, aren't they? Like it.
And there's Kirby himself. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Muppet Show. Here's the story show. Kirby Frog.
Thank you very much, all. I would just like to make a note that as elected members, we should not be filming the public gallery nor making comments which could be considered offensive. We've had a number of residents leave the chamber this evening citing that reason, and if I hear any more, we will move that you will not be heard. We are now... Councillor Callaghan, okay, you'd like to interrupt me at every opportunity. Maybe you want to come up here and wear the chain, who knows? But we are now moving on to the amendment that Councillor Callaghan has proposed. All those in favour of the amendment, please show your hands. All those against? Any abstentions? And one abstention. Thank you very much. That amendment has not been passed. We move back to the floor. Councillor Turner, you indicated you wish to speak.
You pressed your one. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Interesting night tonight, Mr. Mayor, isn't it? We've had all these pouring out. You've done this and we've done that. You're sitting in a chamber right now that cost over 500,000 because Councillor Callaghan wanted it. I didn't hear any road sweepers or crunches then. But anyway, we are where we are. Mr. Mayor, the dynamics of the politics are different, as you may have noticed, and we're in a decision-making chamber where nobody has the overall majority. So what the Conservative group would like to say is we'll take what's been proposed about putting this in front of scrutiny, and we hope that members will join in that process. It's the fairest way we can go about putting these claims to bed and having a debate where members can come along to scrutiny, you can have your say, you can hear what's on offer, and then we can go forward, if you like, hopefully as a consensus. There's lots of hairs running at the moment, and members are saying about the cost of democracy. Well, there is a cost of democracy. We know that because we're all sitting here and we are a cost on that democracy. But let's see if that scrutiny forum can actually demonstrate the value, as has been said tonight, of having political help in the council. And that's really the crux of it. So my proposal is that this now goes to scrutiny on the 23rd and have the debate there before bringing it back to either Cabinet or full Council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. We are now going to take on vote on whether this is... Who's seconding? Thank you.
The proposal is to refer...
So the proposal is for this matter to be pushed through to overview and scrutiny on the 23rd of June. All those in favour of it being deferred, please raise their hands. And all those against?
None against.
Any abstentions?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Thank you very much. The matter will be deferred to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee on the 23rd of June. Councillor Emma Callaghan, you've been chuntering away this whole evening, okay? We're now moving on to motions. That is then your opportunity to speak, okay? So we're now moving on to notices of motion, okay? There are 5 notices of motion, one of which is included in the addendum pack and 1 emergency motion. A, notice of motions given to council meeting held on the 19th of March and 13th of April 2026, and that is to be moved by Councillor Barnes and seconded by Danny Lawrence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I first of all, alter the motion to include a option C, or a recommendation C, which I don't have a copy of in front of me, but it is basically to establish a task and finish group that will have the ability to, I'm altering my own motion, Councillor, to look at the history and the circumstances of the various complaints that were put in about the Save a Poor so-called rescue centre, and to establish that task and finish group so that we can get to the bottom of what went on throughout that period. So that's the alteration. Danny, do you support the alteration? He does.
Is the council in agreement that this addition to the amendment can be made? Motion. In that case, we'll go to a vote. All those in favour of Councillor Barnes' amendment to the motion? And all those against? 8. Any abstentions? 1. Thank you very much. The adjustment to the motion has been passed. Councillor Barnes, would you like to move your motion?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. In May of 2025, Essex Police, along with Basildon Council and the RSPCA, raided a property on Hope Road in Craig's Hill. They found 37 deceased dogs initially, with a further 4 found later, along with a cat, a total of 42 dead animals. Ovid Rahman operated a fake rescue centre named Save a Poor from the site. He took money from owners, amounts between £250 and £4,800 to pay for the dog's care, promising to rehome and rehabilitate pets whilst actually leaving them to starve and die. The details of the case are too distressing to get into. Suffice to say, Mr. Rahman kept the animals in condition that could only be described as hellish, and no right-thinking person could ever have subjected an animal to the kind of treatment he and his partner did for no apparent reason. One of the most troubling aspects of the case is the difficulty in identifying a motive beyond simple cruelty. Finally, on February the 20th, 2026, Mr. Rahman was sentenced to 5 years in prison after admitting animal cruelty, multiple counts of fraud and owning a banned breed of dog. He was also given a lifetime ban from owning animals. Campaigners suspect that many deceased dogs remain on site, and I know that many are frustrated that repeated warnings to the council, the police and other organisations were dismissed or ignored. Mr. Mayor, this can never happen again. The terrible events at Hope Road must be a trigger for better controls on rescue centres and tougher sentencing for those who abuse animals. Richard Holden MP is currently leading a cross-party campaign to ensure that rescue centres are properly licensed, and I should give credit to my colleague Councillor Lawrence, who has been involved in this also. We must close the loophole in the law that allows animal rescue centres to operate without the normal checks and regulations that apply to other animal housing, such as kennels. The government can pass this legislation relatively easily. It can be attached to another bill, and it will clearly command widespread support across Parliament, but it will only happen if the government allows it to. This council should add its voice to the growing chorus of those calling on it to do so at the earliest available opportunity. The 5-year sentence given to Rahman is difficult to accept. My understanding is that the maximum sentence for animal cruelty is 6 years. It is difficult to understand how this case does not, at the very least, justify the strongest sentence available for that crime. I truly hope there is never a case with more aggravating factors than this one. Mr. Rahman was also convicted of fraud. He took money from vulnerable pet owners and abused their trust in the worst way imaginable. Many owners still do not know the fate of their animals. This council should join with those who have already written to the Attorney General asking him to review the sentence in this case. It is obvious that it was unduly lenient, and does not recognise the gravity of the crimes committed. There is a wider debate around sentencing guidelines for animal cruelty generally, but that is for another time. But Mr Rahman must face the full weight of the law available to us now. Nothing will bring back the dogs or other animals that have been lost. Nothing will heal the wounds those lost animals in the most horrific circumstances suffered. Nothing can reverse the missed opportunities there may have been to address this issue earlier if only complaints had been taken seriously. But this council can at least add its weight and voice to those who are trying to stop anything like this happening again. If anything positive has come out of these terrible events, it is perhaps the solidarity and dedication of those who have campaigned for justice in the Save a Poor case. This council has an opportunity tonight to make a small contribution to that campaign, and I urge all members to support this motion. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barnes. Councillor Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I rise to support the motion. The death of the 14 dogs at Hope Road appalled us all. I went to the sentencing at Basildon Crown Court and heard the witness statements. Even more so, during the hearing, the court heard from the vet who attended the property describing bodies riddled with maggots, along with statements from former pet owners. I can tell you it was shocking. Richard Holden MP, as the leader says, is trying to get the Animal Shelters Licensing Bill, a proposed law introduced to Parliament, and aims to make it mandatory for animal rescue centres and rehoming facilities to be officially licensed, closing a loophole where breeders and kennels must be regulated, but shelters currently at the moment do not. At the moment in Basildon we have the new Animal Activity Licensing Policy consultation and the Animal Charter. It started on the 5th of June to the 17th of July, and the consultation invites residents, businesses and community organisations to share their views on the new Animal Activity Licensing Policy and Charter, which will guide the future of animal welfare in the borough. The policy sets out the rules for licensing animal-related businesses, including standard processes and inspections, while the Charter outlines shared commitments and responsibilities for promoting good animal care across the community. The feedback will also ensure that these documents are clear, fair and reflect local priorities before they are finalised. All feedback will be considered by a future meeting of the Licensing Committee. I urge residents and members to complete the consultation. This policy will also be adapted when the legislation is also changed. Mr Mayor, this was a terrible case and we should make sure that this new law is changed and this never happens again anywhere. And one of the few owners who actually knew their pet's fate said, and I quote, "We have to live every day knowing we sent Sparko to his death. Sparko was not even a year old," she said. "He had his whole life ahead of him. He should be here now. This will never leave us." Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lawrence. A very moving speech indeed. We are now opening this for debate. Councillor Sargent.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The death of the many dogs at a so-called rescue centre in Crays Hill totally shocked the local community last year. It was a very difficult time for local residents, one they will never forget. Ward councillors were inundated with residents concerned, but there was little we could do but offer our support. This motion must be supported, urging legislation to be brought forward to change the law to allow licensing authorities to license these centres. I thank Councillor Barnes for adding a task and finish group to the motion, and I thank members for voting for that. The Council's new animal activity licensing policy, sorry that I'm going to speak on what Councillor Danny has said. The licensing policy and animal charter is currently on consultation, which covers a range of licensable activities. I hope it will receive many responses to back up a change in the law. I thank the Save the Poor group for their continued campaigning to highlight and prevent any more dogs who died so unnecessarily. We are a nation of dog lovers. Our communities walk their dogs daily, which helps with their well-being, and they enjoy their life and their communities because they are very well attended, those dog walking clubs. As for the local community, they now just want to get back to normality and would very much welcome the change to any law. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sargent. Moving on to the next speaker, we have Councillor Hopton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As this happened in my ward, I wanted to speak on this motion. Like many residents, I watched this case unfold with a mixture of anger and disbelief. People hear the words Animal Rescue Centre and they expect animals to be protected, and they expect care, compassion and proper standards. Instead, what we saw was the complete opposite. The court has now secured a conviction, which is very welcome, but let's be honest, many residents look at this case and simply do not believe the punishment fits the crime. 5 years may sound like a long time, but when people look at the scale of what happened and the suffering involved, they struggle to understand how that reflects the seriousness of the offences. The wider issue here is that this should never have been allowed to happen in the first place. When something calls itself a rescue centre, most people assume there are inspections, standards and proper oversight. Most residents would be shocked to discover that that isn't always the case. That's why I support the call for rescue centres to be licensed and regulated properly. If you're taking responsibility for animals, there should be rules. If you are caring for animals, there should be inspections. And if those standards are breached, there should be consequences. This isn't bureaucracy, that is basic common sense. The vast majority of people involved in animal welfare do an excellent job, often volunteering their own time and money. They deserve a system that protects their reputation, not one that allows bad actors to hide in the shadows. Tonight we have the opportunity to send a clear message, close the loophole, strengthen the law and make sure this never happens again. I will be supporting this motion.
Councillor Brockman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Barnes, for bringing this motion to the Council. Like many members of this chamber, I am both a dog and cat lover. The deaths of these dogs were a tragedy that should never have happened and must never be allowed to happen again. For that reason, I fully support this motion and the proposal that Richard Holden writes to the Secretary of State and the Attorney General seeking a review of the relevant legislation and the enforcement arrangements. However, there is one important question that I believe needs answering, and this is it. Was the premises reported to this council prior to the events? If so, when was it reported? To whom was the report made? And what action, if any, was taken by this council in response? In the interest of transparency and public confidence, I would agree that this information should be made available to all councillors so that we could fully understand whether any concerns were raised beforehand and what steps were taken to address them. The public rightly expect accountability and openness in matters of this seriousness, and I believe that providing this information would assist both councillors and residents alike. Thanks.
Was you proposing an amendment tonight, or was that part of your speech? Just part. No, that's fine. That's fine. No problem at all. We're now going to move on to the next speaker. It's Councillor Noble. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I fully support this motion. This case has created a huge amount of public anger, and rightly so. The residents simply want to know that those responsible for these horrendous acts are dealt with. The residents are also losing confidence in a system where, as Councillor Hopton said, the punishment doesn't fit the crime. Whether it's crime, antisocial behaviour or cases like this, they just want common sense to prevail. The first duty of a government is to protect the vulnerable, and in this case, it's dogs. They trust humans to protect them. And when that trust is broken, they need a strong response. That is why I support writing to the Attorney-General, and if there is a genuine reason to review the sentence, then it needs to be looked at. Equally, I support writing to the government to close this loophole for good. The law should be clear, the standards should be clear, and enforcement should be clear. We don't want to make headlines. We just want to make sure that a tragedy like this never happens again. I hope that every member in the chamber will support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Noble. Councillor Baggott.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I apologise to members in advance because I'm in danger of either coming across as condescending or teaching people to suck eggs. But a few of us will remember the night where this was going to be debated at Council, and there were members of the public there who quite rightfully were very, very passionate and very upset because the emotions were high. And quite rightfully at that particular time, the administration at the time said, and was saying quite rightfully, that they could not take it to a scrutiny at that particular point because police investigations were still undergoing, and therefore it wasn't appropriate for them to actually be doing anything at that stage. And that was correct. And I spoke to my colleague, Councillor Hilliard, who was chairman of scrutiny at the time, and I sat on scrutiny, and we stood outside there, and we spoke to the residents, and we explained to them what the situation was, and that something would be done. And time has moved on. I spoke to Councillor Hilliard a couple of times, but, you know, at the end of the day, you've got to get the police investigation out of the way. It's got to be finished. And then you can actually start to move forwards to actually give what the public need, which is a sense of natural justice. Because it was not just the fact that it had happened, which was emotive, it was what lessons have been learned and what could the council do better, if anything, to make sure that these sort of things don't occur again. So the task and finish group, which I commend the leader on bringing forward, I think is absolutely fundamental. But it needs to have the right terms of reference. It needs to understand what the outcome it wants are. And if the outcomes end up becoming a talking shot or muddled or an opportunity for people to try and score political points somehow, the whole thing becomes lost. It needs to be objective, it needs to have a clear terms of reference, it needs to be very, very clear about what it wants to achieve. And one of the things I believe it should be achieving is, through the process of the council, could things have been done better? Could we improve on it? What could we do in the future to ensure that not only something like this doesn't happen again, but God forbid, if something was happening right now, that it would be picked up and action taken. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Baggott. We'll move on to Councillor Ansell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I rise to support this motion this evening, and I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Councillor Barnes for bringing this issue to full council, and I agree with the sentiments in his speech. For my contribution on this motion, I'd like to focus on a recent step the council has taken and to update full council on correspondence that has been received from the government. In March, I wrote to the Secretary of State for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs in my role as the then chairman of the Licensing Committee to urge the introduction of mandatory licensing for all rescue and rehoming centres across the UK. And to give credit where it's due, this letter was prepared and issued to the government following a recommendation from Councillor Terry Sargent and Councillor Danny Lawrence at a meeting of the Licensing Committee. The letter issued to the government, stated, while many centres operate to exceptionally high standards, others lack the oversight, resources or expertise necessary to ensure animal welfare. Without a formal licensing framework, there is no consistent mechanism to monitor welfare standards, safeguard animals from neglect, or ensure that rehoming practices are responsible and ethical. The government's recent animal welfare strategy sets out a vision for improving standards by 2030, and it's encouraging to see that the issue of rescue and rehoming centre regulation is acknowledged within that framework. However, Given the scale of the challenges faced by the sector, this should be treated as a priority rather than a long-term aspiration. Delaying action risks prolonging inconsistent welfare standards and allowing unregulated operations to continue without oversight. And the letter concluded by saying, I respectfully ask that you support efforts to introduce legislation that will require all animal rescue and rehoming centres to be licensed and regularly inspected without further delay. In early May, we received a response from Baroness Hayman, who is the Minister for Animal Welfare and Biosecurity. In a short response, the government referred to the animal welfare strategy published in December 2025 that outlines plans to improve the welfare of pets. The letter also stated that DEFRA is committed to the launch of a consultation on licensing domestic rescue and rehoming organisations. I have shared this letter from Baroness Hayman with the Chairman and Vice Chairman of the Licensing Committee, as well as Basildon Council's Licensing Manager. Should this motion pass this evening, and I hope it does, may I ask that the Leader of the Council liaise with licensing officers and the Chairman of the Licensing Committee and the Vice Chairman as well to ensure that the Council's efforts to lobby for legislative change are joined up. And to assist with this, I'd be happy to provide him with a copy of the letter issued in March and a copy of the reply we received last month. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ansell. We have Councillor Blake, who's indicated to speak as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't intending to speak on this, having heard Councillor Botman's comments on how did this happen and the sniping going behind saying, oh, it was Councillor Blake, all under Councillor Blake. Let me make this quite clear. It was done under my position as Cabinet Member. I accept that when it first started. Absolutely agree with that. No problem at all. Did I know anything about it? No, I didn't. If there is something wrong and somebody can prove otherwise of that, then fair enough. Then that's what the scrutiny, that's the idea of the overall scrutiny will happen. But I'm fed up with the back teeth of the people behind me, some of them, making comments that it's my responsibility. I do nothing about it. There is not a person in this room, maybe the exception of the poor people, that love animals as much as I do. And if anything is down to me, then I will take full responsibility. But let me tell you here and now, as far as I'm concerned, I have no responsibility for this whatsoever, but I will do all I can to find out and get to the bottom of everything, because they deserve it. They deserve the justice that comes to them. And I will say one thing that was mentioned earlier, was the justice, 5 years for a person like that, and I use that term very loosely, is absolutely disgusting, and I think everyone in this room would also agree with that. Thank you.
Do we have any further speakers on the matter? That's fine. Councillor Barnes, would you like to sum up for us? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm pleased that it looks like this motion is going to get unanimous support. I think that is the most appropriate thing. I agree with everything that's been said tonight, but I will just briefly touch on some of the points that were raised. Councillor Blake talked about the politics of this. I want to be absolutely clear. There is no political favour. I fully accept that there clearly are issues that happened under a Conservative administration and under the subsequent Labour administration. I don't care. I want to get to the bottom of what happened. So if that means that, you know, members or officers or wherever it is get criticised, so be it. So be it. Because, you know, this was such a serious issue that I just don't give a toss, frankly, if members or anyone else gets caught in the crossfire. Councillor Ansell spoke about writing to the Minister. I would just remind members, this motion was originally brought in March, which would have been before that letter was written, but I thank him for doing that. And the contents of the letter sounds imminently sensible. I don't think it will do any harm to send another letter now we've got a new administration, but I will certainly take him up on his offer to liaise with the Licensing Committee and indeed to take a copy of his letter as well, and we'll see how we can roll the two things together to keep it consistent. Councillor Baggott talked about the procedural issue with the task and finish group, and yeah, he's entirely correct. You know, we've now got the space to form this task and finish group, and that is exactly what we should do, because lessons have to be learned. And he talked about the fact it could be happening now. We know that there are, I'm not going to name them, but we know that there are locations, not within the borough, but not a million miles away, where there are serious concerns. So this is still going on. And, you know, if we can learn the lessons from that, then maybe we can stop it happening in the future. Councillor Noble talked about the inadequacy of the sentence that was handed out, and he's 100% right on that. Councillor Brockman, I think what you alluded to in your speech, I think this task and finish group will do that, because I've been absolutely clear with the Chief Executive and with the other officers. This task and finish group must have access to every document, every email, every piece of evidence there is, without fear and favour. It will be a slightly different task and finish group to the ones that we normally hold, because we are going to invite members of the public to be involved with it as well as the ward members, to make sure that we're absolutely transparent on what went down here. We have some members I heard in the back talking about the fact that some of these facts have come out. They have, but they're via FOIs, and I think, with the best will in the world, FOIs information tends to come out sporadically. So I think it's important that we get it into one document that we can then learn from, and more importantly, make recommendations to make sure there cannot be a repeat. Councillor Houghton talked about the fact that it's within her political ward, and obviously she has my colleagues in her ward as well. I think this crosses political boundaries. Councillor Sargent, a ward member as well, spoke movingly and talked about the licensing situation, as did Councillor Lawrence. And I think that licensing argument and how we make sure that rescue centres are managed going forward is really, really crucial. I'll leave it there, Mr Mayor. I thank all members for their contributions tonight, and I hope they'll support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barnes. I mean, this is a very emotive subject, and I'm glad that we're coming to a conclusion now, and we'll be able to open that task and finish group to get to the real bottom of what happened here. We're now going to move into the vote. All those in favour, please raise their hand. Any against? Any abstentions? That is a unanimous vote, of which I'm very glad that is the case. And we now move on to the next motion. We were notified this afternoon that Councillor Callaghan wished to withdraw his motion this afternoon. Please can you confirm, Councillor Callaghan, whether that is still the case? Councillor Callaghan is nodding in agreement that he has withdrawn his motion this evening. So we now move on to the next motion. So we're now going to pass over to Councillor Abraham to move the Protecting Basildon's High Streets from over-concentration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I rise to move the motion, but before I do, I'd ask that you indulge me for a couple of minutes while I take members on a short trip down memory lane. And before I continue, I should say that the motion applies to every unit that is our responsibility throughout the borough. So, but I'm going to speak from experience of the new town. So I was born in Basildon Hospital. Actually, I was the fourth baby born in the hospital and the first breech birth. I think that's why I usually see things from a different angle now. Growing up in Basildon during the 70s and 80s was something very special. Basildon was a town people were proud to call home. We had park keepers in our parks. You could hire golf clubs for crazy golf, rent out little boats, and spend the whole day with your family in a park. The grass was neatly cut, flower beds were cared for, and the parks looked loved. Our estates were looked after too. There was always someone keeping the footpaths tidy, spraying the weeds. You certainly didn't see footpaths disappearing beneath 3-foot-high weeds back then, as they sadly are today. Saturdays were a family trip to the town. We'd go into town with Mum and Dad and spend ages in Zodiacs, dreaming about toys that we may never persuade them to buy. Of course, while we wanted toys, Mum invariably wanted to visit Richard shops for a new dress, and Dad would find himself in Fenton's or Hepworth's looking for a new shirt or tie. There was Littlewoods for children's clothes, and one of the best things about that
was that you could walk through one door and out the other side into a thriving market. A market bustling with traders, full of life and full of choice. If we needed something for the kitchen, whether it was a new saucepan, some crockery or household essentials, Timothy White's had it covered. Many dads could often be found huddled. Often be found huddled around the windows of Dixon's or Rumbelows, staring through the shop windows, waiting for the classified football results to appear on the TV screens. These were days before Sky Sports and mobile phones. And Woolworths, of course, sold practically everything a family could ever need. The famous pick and mix. And a wonderful selection of vinyl albums by the likes of Perry Como and Andy Williams. No trip into town was complete without a sandwich in the upstairs cafe at Taylor's department store. At Christmas, every kid had to visit Santa there, and those treasured photographs were usually developed at Godfrey's. For the weekly shop, the town boasted Presto, Sainsbury's and Tesco. Whichever your family preferred, the important thing was this. There was choice. Different shops, different businesses, different reasons to visit the town centre. You could even have a Chinese at the end of the day near the ABC Cinema, the Chinese restaurant there. But Mr. Mayor, those are my memories. But they're the memories shared by thousands of people who grew up in Basildon. And as I reflected on those memories, one question kept coming back. What memories of Basildon Town Centre will this generation have? When today's children are sitting here in this council chamber, or maybe another one, in 40 years' time, what stories will they be telling about growing up in Basildon? Will they remember discovering independent shops? Will they remember wandering around a thriving market? Or will they remember a town centre full of variety and opportunity? Or will their memories simply be a vape shop, a barber shop, perhaps a mobile phone repair shop, then another vape shop, another barber shop, and another mobile phone shop? Mr. Mayor, let me be clear. This is not a criticism of those businesses. They're perfectly legitimate businesses. Many are run by hard-working people doing an honest day's work. This motion is not anti-barber, it's not anti-vape shop, it's not anti-business. It's pro-variety, it's pro-regeneration, and it's pro-common sense. Before I return to the detail of the motion, I'd also think it's fair to give credit where credit is due. Whilst I may not agree with everything that the previous Labour and independent administrations have done, I believe they deserve some recognition for helping establish a nighttime economy in Basildon Town Centre. For many years, residents complained that once the shops were closed, the town simply died. The introduction of restaurants and bars and the new cinema has started to address that. Now, Basildon may not yet offer the wide range of choice that you can get in Billericay High Street when it comes to restaurants and bars, but it's a move in the right direction. However, that progress risks being undermined by the daytime shopping experience when it offers very little more than a handful of businesses offering the same thing. Regeneration simply can't be about giving people a reason to visit in the evening. It must give people a reason to visit during the day. A successful town centre needs both. It needs restaurants, it needs cafes, it needs leisure, but it also needs a diverse retail offer that encourages people to browse and shop and spend. Mr. Mayor, I can already hear people maybe thinking to themselves, the market should decide. I normally agree. But this motion isn't about telling private landlords what they should do with their properties. It's about what we do with ours. These are council-owned properties. The assets are owned on behalf of the people of Basildon. This motion does not seek to ban anyone from opening a barber shop. It does not seek anyone from to ban anyone from opening a vape shop. It simply says where the council owns the premises and where there is already a significant concentration of particular business types, we should seek diversity when the opportunity arises. This seems to be a perfectly responsible approach. Perhaps it will allow another independent retailer to establish themselves. Perhaps it will encourage another family business. Perhaps it will bring something new and different that gives residents another visit, a worthwhile visit to Basildon. Mr. Mayor, Basildon was built with ambition. It was built to provide opportunity. And I believe our town centres should reflect that ambition today. We can't recreate the Basildon of the 70s and 80s, nor should we try. Every generation deserves to create their own memories, but we can help ensure that the next generation grows up with a town centre that offers choice, opportunity, variety and civic pride, rather than endless repetition. The Basildon I grew up in gave me memories that have lasted a lifetime. Let us do our part to ensure that the Basildon we leave behind does the same for this generation and the next generation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Abrahall. I think you took many elected members down memory lane there with your motion that you just put forward there. We're now moving to Councillor Gardner for... Oh, no, sorry, it's Councillor Gardner to second it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm pleased to support this motion. Mr. Mayor, this is a debate about who the town centres are for. Are they shaped by the wishes of local residents, or do we simply allow the same patterns to repeat themselves without challenge? Mr. Mayor, there's nothing wrong with a barber shop. There's nothing wrong with a vape shop. The issue is the concentration of these shops. When residents walk through parts of our borough and see businesses after businesses offering the exact same thing, they rightly start asking whether anyone is talking strategically view of our high streets. Because high streets succeed through variety. They succeed when people have a reason to visit. They succeed when there is a mix of businesses serving different needs and attracting different customers. What they do not need is further oversaturations in areas where residents already feel there is too much of the same thing. Now, some would argue that the market should decide. Now, I would agree, but this motion is not about private property. This motion is about council-owned property, property owned by the people of Basildon. And if the council is a landlord, then the council has every right to decide what sort of town centres it wants to help create. For far too long, residents have felt their views were ignored. They have raised concerns about the changing character of their local shopping areas, and too often those concerns are being dismissed. This motion says something different. It says we have listened. It says we understand the concerns. And it says that where the council has the power to act, it should use that power responsibly. This is not radical. This is not controversial. This is common sense. Public assets should be used in public interest. That's exactly what this motion achieves. I urge other members to consider it and support it. Thank you.
We're going to call Councillor Noble.
Thank you. Everybody asks, how many vape shops and barber shops do we need? This is not an attack on any business owner. If they're run well, good luck to them. It's about the balance. Residents need choice. When I say businesses are run well, obviously you can walk past the barber shops and vape shops, and they're full up with people. Obviously, every day of the week they're full of people. That's not the case, though, is it really, when we look at it? You go past these shops and there's no one in them. So where are they getting their money from? In the town centre, count how many barber shops and vape shops compared to butchers and bakers. Where can you get meat from? Where can I get a cake from? I'd love a cake during the day sometimes. Can't get one, apart from Greg's, perhaps. We may not be able to control all shops, but surely we can decide what happens in the shops that the people of Basildon own. And that is exactly what this motion says. If we have too many of a particular shop in an area, then don't make it any worse. Stop signing leases that make things worse with less choice for residents. It doesn't make sense. Residents want thriving town centres, not the same shops all the time. And I would bring two other shops into this. I know we don't have many nail bars, but there might be a time when we will. And also I'd mention a casino. Where I sit sometimes, I'm old enough to have a bus pass, and I'll sit in the bus station sometimes, right near the casino. I've never yet seen anybody go in that casino or come out. Again, I don't know where they're getting their money from. So anyway, this motion listens to the residents, and I did go on ChatGPT, whatever it is, but I couldn't find anything, and I thought I'd just go to my notes. So I urge all members to support this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Abrahill for raising it. It's a perfect opportunity to roast the asset strippers. Look what happened to Debenhams. That was the flagship store in the town. That was bought, that was rinsed, and that was destroyed by asset strippers. That is one of the reasons we don't have these decent traders on the high street. The same happened to Woolworths, and they pick after business and kill it. Then it's the supermarkets. Councillor Abrahill raised about these independent traders. He spoke about a youth very similar to mine growing up in Dagenham. We'd go to Romford and we'd see all these traders. One thing he did mention when he was reciting pastimes, the freezing cold winters, and an old councillor has told Mrs T, let my parents buy theirs and put gas central heating and double glazing in. But that's a different conversation. But the point is, the supermarkets have cornered the market. Now, I know a little bit about this. Look at fruit and veg. The farmers used to sell their produce directly to the wholesale markets, such as Smithfield, the proper Covent Garden and the proper Spitalfields markets and the like. Not these trendy ones you see hipsters and wannabe green politicians, but the proper wholesale markets. But the supermarkets come in and they say to the agricultural sector, we will buy all your produce, we will pay you that price, you will meet this standard, that standard, and the wholesale markets can't make a trade because the price that the greengrocers sell on for, they can't beat the supermarkets. We spoke earlier about the members' allowances, about people struggling with the cost of living. This is why people are going to supermarkets. When we have the council under Gavin Callahan's leadership, we're going to get a new Aldi in town because that's what customers can afford because they're counting the pennies. Life is not getting any cheaper because you've got these crooked energy companies just hiking up the price, speaking to their mates in Ofcom, going, jack up the gas and electricity bills, no worries there. And our residents get the hit, and then they're having to look at their shopping bills. And then when you look at the supermarkets, if your television packs up, you can go to Pitsy Tesco's in Councillor Abrahill's ward and get your big flat screen colour TV. No independent trader could sell just as cheap as Tesco's or the other online dealers. I mean, look at Amazon. How many small business has Amazon put out of business? Because it's hard to beat these online retailers. The supermarkets have cornered the market. I think this is something central government needs to look at doing, preferably prosecuting these asset strippers, so people might want to reopen the chain of stores. But since the fall of Woolworths, Wilko's, Debenhams and many other more, no one's filled that gap in the market because that gap in the market does no longer exist. We're very supportive of this ideal, but no government has decided to take this issue on seriously to protect the high street. So big business, asset strippers have killed our high streets. And how do local councils intervene? But there is one thing I must pick up in Councillor Abrahill. He thanked us for the cinema. Me and my group voted against the cinema. It was the Conservatives who put the cinema forward and all the grief I gave them for it. So I'd like to correct the record, but you wasn't a member at the time, and it's an honest mistake to make. But I'll wrap up there, but I thought I'd correct the record and say Conservative members, I'm true to form. Speak as you find and not as you like. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Members.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith. We now have Councillor Gavin Callaghan.
Thank you. A couple of interesting points raised so far. Clearly, ChatGPT hasn't heard of Greggs, because there's plenty of them in Basildon Town Centre. Councillor Abrahall took us down memory lane, and I thought it was interesting that he was able to wax lyrical about what this borough looked like under a Labour council. For years and years and years, everything was going well. The picture that he painted was brilliant. He only then forgot to mention two things. One, the internet, and two, Tories. Because both of those things have come along and destroyed Basildon's High Street and our town centre. You'd have to be mad, wouldn't you, to give them the keys to power again, but here we are. Our Reform colleagues have done exactly that. I think what was also missing is that there was no facts or detail in Councillor Abrahall's speech. I took the liberty of speaking to our commercial assets team this week because we have over 200 units that this council owns across the whole of our borough, across all 5 towns. At this moment in time, we have 4 barbers and we have 1 vape shop in over 200 units. It does not make commercial sense for Basildon Council to put loads of vape shops and loads of Turkish barbers into our units. We don't do it anyway. It doesn't make any commercial sense to do that. So therefore, much of what is being pushed forward in this motion tonight is not needed. I would ask as well, why were fast food restaurants and fast food not included in this motion as well? Because I know in my own ward that is something that matters to a lot of residents. I think also we have to be very careful with this motion because there are laws of unintended consequences. So what happens if in Southgate House, as an example, where the council now owns that building, we was to get an offer from a Tesco Express or a Sainsbury's local to go into that unit? They, of course, sell vapes. So would we be saying to the council that we would not take their money and we would not take their revenue if this motion was passed tonight because there is already one in that building? So I think we have to be careful of that. I also think it's interesting that what we haven't heard, there's lots of discussion about regeneration. I am yet to hear a vision about regeneration from either the Conservatives or Reform UK. Ultimately, and in fairness, that is harsh, Councillor Genet has been very, very clear that he is against an awful lot of the things that we were doing, but what he is in favour of is bringing a lush back to Basildon Town Centre.
Can't wait.
So bath bombs is the idea. That's the big vision. We're going to be inundated with bath bombs in Basildon, okay? But he's against the arena, and that arena is the catalyst. So regeneration is about economics. You will not get retailers to come into Basildon Town Centre right now with the way it is for 2 very simple reasons. Number one, much of the retail space is too big. The service yards that cater for those retail units are very outdated, and because of all of that, the business rates are prohibitive. So they want modern, fit for the 21st century retail space, which is what is currently being built in the town centre. You knock down the existing retail space and you build out modern retail space. That is happening, and part of that... Can you just stop, Iggy? Thank you. Right, what you then end up with...
Councillor Callaghan, please do not...
Conspiracy theories.
Please do not address the public gallery. How dare you?
Oh,
okay?
I can.
Address your speech to me. Address your speech to me, okay?
So he's not allowed to put conspiracy theories
Please stop
over.
interrupting, okay?
You want me to sit here?
Address,
I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna
address
engage.
the motion.
You want me to sit...
Councillor Callaghan, please sit down.
No. No. That's what Greenberg tells you. No, he's told you to stand up. Standing up. Okay. No, I'm going to carry on with my speech. Because here's the problem. When it comes to retail space, we have...
Councillor Callaghan, again, for the second meeting in a row, you have acted inappropriately. We are now moving 23B to hear that Councillor Gavin Callaghan is no longer heard in the meeting. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
He made us teach about members being protected.
Greenberg almost voted then. He went
All those against? Thank you. And any abstentions? Thank you very much. Councillor Gavin Callaghan, please be seated. You will no longer be heard in the meeting. We're now moving to Councillor Turner. Councillor Turner.
Can I have a bit of silence, please? Mr Mayor, I just want to correct for the record, Councillor Abrahall congratulating the Labour Party on regenerating the town centre with the cinema and the nightlife economy. It wasn't them. Nobody applauds the person that builds a stage, and I have to say that was the Conservatives. So when Councillor Callaghan says it was a Labour government, we didn't have Tories, actually, that was 15. That was 15.
This is grossly disorderly.
Councillor Gavin Callaghan, please, can you stop? Fine. In that case, then I think we have no choice. We're going to adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes. Can all members and the public? Okay. We're now moving 23C with Councillor Gavin Callaghan for him to be removed from the chamber. All those in favour?
Absolutely, get him out. Bloody disgrace.
All those against? Oh, yeah.
Forgotten there again.
Thank you. Any abstentions?
One abstention.
Thank you. That has been passed. Councillor Gavin Callaghan, please leave the chamber or security will remove you.
Get him out.
And are you removing the members of the public who keep shouting abuse
I might be able to get a talk to him.
Take his laptop off him.
I'd like to see you touch it, honestly.
We're going to clear the public gallery while Councillor Gavin Callaghan removes himself from the chamber. We will adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes. Thank you.
It is now. This is Basildon Council. Nothing that I have said tonight is controversial.
Oh, they're allowed because they're reform supporters.
We were talking about vape shops, we were talking about barber shops, we were having a debate about regeneration. As you can see here, I've got my notes. I'm just taking part in the council meeting, but we haven't been out. Here he is. There's Councillor Barnes walking past yet. Sold his soul to be the leader of the council. So here we go. Here's Andy Baggett. He's coming along now. There we go. Yeah, there we go. He's going to do an investigation into prostitution for us. We're going to find out.
Start with his own TikTok.
We're going to go through his TikTok and ask the taxi drivers for some information. But here we are. This is the council now.
Mark, are you going to reply to my email about my standards
We're all
complaint?
sat here in the council chamber and we're not being allowed to speak.
You've got to go for a chat. Ooh.
The second meeting in a row, I'm not allowed to finish my speech. I'm not allowed to take part in the council meeting. I keep being thrown out, I keep being silenced. I'm not having it. So Greg's over there who's watching me. I'm not moving. I will stay in my seat and I will continue to be part of this meeting. We've got a big debate coming on here now about LGR and I'm going to carry on. So we're not moving and we're not being thrown out. We've had a very interesting meeting tonight. Lots of things to
He
discuss
constantly
and
interrupts
talk
our
about.
speeches. Every time Gavin
This is
speaks,
where we are.
he has a flipping
and so-
debate across the room with him.
You don't
Unplugs
see
the
this 'cause all
timer
you see
when his mate's
is
up there
the,
talking. That's on camera, just so you know. Unplugging your
see,
timer whilst your member's talking.
Can all members now leave the chamber,
Oh, okay,
please?
thanks.
Thank you very much.
We're not leaving the chamber. Not a chance.
Is there a fire, Councillor?
I'm still elected to be here. You're illegitimate. Yeah, no, it's on purpose. It's still streaming.
They're incapable of turning.
There we go. So look, they've all gone hiding in their little closet over there in the corner. That's the mayors in their frocks and chains. So here we are. I'm not going anywhere. Right. So this is how it is. I am democratically.
Put your feet up, Eunice.
I have said nothing wrong. I have done nothing.
Did you enjoy the trip down memory lane, Eunice?
The Chief Executive tonight has made a number of comments and a number of things that he, I think, will regret because that was outrageous. Absolutely outrageous, and we'll deal with that tomorrow. Lots of conversations today. There'll be more tomorrow. I'm sure they're calling the police as well. Make me a martyr. So we are going nowhere. It is a shambles. I can hear Andy Barnes muttering in the corner there. He's being told now what he can and can't say by...
Much the same as Conservatives and Reform.
If they end up...
If they don't go, what? You want to say it louder, Sam?
Because this is what they do to
Go on, say it louder, so we can all hear what you're planning to do. Enjoy.
Bye. It's outrageous that we keep being silenced, we keep being thrown out of meetings.
Please leave the chamber.
No, I'm not leaving.
Is there a fire alarm?
He's trying to throw us out.
Sit here.
Remember when we tried to adjourn the meeting?
This is the modus operandi of the Tories.
Remember when he had to be dragged out?
They don't like
That
opposition,
actually
they
didn't happen,
don't
did
like
it?
full question, they don't like
It
debate,
was on TV News.
and so they're going to behave like this. Yep, there's Eunice, she sits on the fence and abstains in every vote. People of Wickford are people of Wickford are lucky to have her. She'll tell us her opinion at one point whenever, I'm sure. And so now there is so you know, we're sat in the chamber. They want us to leave the chamber, which we're not going to do, because if we walk out of the chamber, they'll resume the meeting and they won't let us back in.
Are you purposely still streaming this to YouTube?
This is all going out on
Is
YouTube.
it still purposely still streaming to YouTube, your webcast? No?
You never let it stream when these like
There's a meeting going on over there of the officers with the mayor, and they're all sat there. And I think it's all worth noting that from my position where I was tonight, it was the monitoring officer who was advising the mayor to throw me out of the meeting. You can judge from yourself whether or not anything I said in the meeting was terrible or untoward. Just to be really clear, the opposition usually sit down there on the front row. That's where the opposition have always sat. They have decided that they were going to sit us here. This is where the public gallery is, and all night long we have to sit here and listen to abuse. We have to sit there and we have to listen to people slagging me off, giving me conspiracy theories, you name it. And that's exactly what Chris Iggy Dodd, who you may know from social media, who's an arch conspiracy theorist, was in there doing the same. And I called him out because I'm making my speech, he's shouting at me, and clearly the officers and the mayor will not intervene to stop that from happening. I have made it really clear, I've written to the Chief Exec multiple times to ask him that we are moved back to where
We've got shirts on the other way round.
that we can't speak, we can't move motions, we can't move amendments.
You're not allowed to speak.
Right, every time, I mean, you see tonight, every time I speak, I'm interrupted after every 10, 30 seconds. And here we are. So, this is Basildon Council in 2020.
The fish and chip shop by me.
Just to give you a bit of a update as well, so all of the other council groups have left, the mayor's left, The Deputy Mayor has left, all of the senior officers have left. You will have noticed that there wasn't anybody who actually came up to any of us on the back here to ask if we were okay from the abuse that we were getting from the public. You will have noticed that there has been no welfare check. We have a 9-month pregnant lady here as well who's been getting volleys of abuse all night. We've obviously got Jill Palmer, who's also here, right? But no welfare check on any of us. We've just been left all night. It's not about being leader, Lauren. Honestly, look at the bags under my eyes. They've gone. I'm not the leader. It's great. I sleep. Everything's wonderful. Right? I'm happy. Right? I just went on holiday. It was brilliant. It was wonderful. I've seen my kids for the first time in 2 years. This isn't about that. I just want to be able to make a 5-minute speech about why regeneration in our town centre is a good thing. And I'm being shouted and heckled at by the public gallery, and then I'm being told I can't speak, and I'm being thrown out by Councillor Genet. So, this is where we are. I don't want to do this. No one wants to do this. My speech would have been over. We'd been on to the next motion. But this is where we are, sadly. So tell me, Granit Xhaka scored, did he, tonight in the game, in the Switzerland game? So,
You could just talk to the webcast.
is the webcasting on? Is it
Yeah.
full stream? Right, we're going to do both here. We're going to continue live on the webcast and on Facebook, talking about the issue at hand. There is not a huge number of vape shops and Turkish barbers in council-owned property, right? So we are responsible for about 200 odd units, and there's 5 of those units that currently meet the criteria set out in this motion. We have to be careful not to fall into the laws of unintended consequences. Oh, Sergeant at Arms is back. I think they might be trying to sign. No, they're not. Ooh, walk past. We can carry on. The regeneration proposals that we put forward, that I think Councillor Abrahall actually said he was supportive of and in favour of, generated around 500,000 visits into the town centre every single year. That's because 200,000 visits from the Eastgate Hospital and around 300,000 visits from the arena. It's also worth noting that that arena generates in the region of about £2.5 million a year in profit. That's a very conservative figure as well. You are not going to get retailers coming back into our town centre whilst the current retail offer looks the way it does. I wish that wasn't true, but unfortunately it is. So the current retail offer will remain poor until such time as we increase the footfall in our town centre. If we can get 500,000 people a year into that town centre, we will be able to attract the big names back into our town centre. And I think that that is really important. And you talk about the market, or we've heard tonight them talking about the market deciding. Well, of course, that is true, but the market at the moment is saying there are not enough customers. And we need to think about how we increase them. Now, so far, we're almost a month into this administration, and what have we heard? They are going to scrap the regeneration of Basildon Town Centre. They are going to get rid of the arena. We don't know if the Audi is actually happening at the moment. It seems like that's up in the air at the moment. We don't know what's happening in terms of pre-lease contracts being signed on the Orwell development. That should start pretty soon. We don't know if the free parking applies to all of our car parks, or does it just apply to the Westgate car park? So there is question marks about that as well. You see, this isn't controversial, right? I just want to be able to make the speeches on behalf of the Labour Party and the opposition. We shouldn't be shut out of the debate. We shouldn't have the Mayor try and target Labour councillors, and I shouldn't have to sit here and listen to the public gallery spouting conspiracy theories or being down in the car park filming councillors when they're coming in and out of their cars. I also think it's important that we focus on the points that Councillor Noble was alluding to, because he was alluding to activity that UK Border Force have been very interested in. Stats that have recently been released show that in the calendar year 2025, UK Border Force and the Home Office had the highest number of immigration raids on properties that were suspected of hiring illegal workers and asylum seekers of any year on record. And it wasn't, ironically, the Turkish barbers or the vape shops, which is the subject of the motion this evening, where they found improper activity going on in our borough. It was, in fact, in a restaurant on Billericay High Street. And that was reported in the Echo this week, and I think around £160,000 fine was issued there. Now, we've seen that before with a restaurant in Pitsea, where UK Border Force recommended that their licence be taken off of them as well. So, if UK Immigration and UK Border Force are going around our borough, and they are going into car washes and now bars and vape shops and casinos and into those other areas, then we should have confidence that we will find out if this stuff is going on in our borough and if any action needs to be taken as well. I feel a little bit like Cory Booker here at the moment, because I think this filibuster, and I thank the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor have come back into the chamber. We are broadcasting live on the live stream. Unfortunately, you forgot to turn it off. But this is the reality of the regeneration. So whilst I have sympathy for what we are seeing, and whilst I have some sympathy for the motion and the intent behind the motion tonight, what I would say is that there are laws of unintended consequences. And if we go down the route of putting a blanket ban in place, then we may find ourselves in a situation where we hurt the council's commercial revenue. Like I say, if a Tesco's Express or a Sainsbury's local or somebody like that comes along wanting to open in one of our shopping parades, would we now have to say no if this motion was passed? I think what could happen, similar to the discussion that we had earlier on, is that this could go back into scrutiny. We could kick the tyres on the policy, we could have a look at it, and we could see whether or not this would be a worthwhile exercise. Now, what I'm being told, and this is for the benefit of everybody else, is that I think our Democratic Services team are coming to turn off the live stream and shut me up. So if you are watching on the council's live stream, get yourself onto my Facebook. You'll be able to follow me on Facebook. There we go, I can sit down now, now that I'm off the live stream. I believe they've called the police as well. So we've got the police on their way. We will not be removed from this council chamber. That much is clear. We are democratically elected, and we will not be removed from the chamber this evening. Let's have a little look around the chamber at the moment. Sort of officers there having a chat. Security officers in the corner there deciding what they're going to do. This is Basildon Council. Got a cabinet member I think is going home at the moment. He's off. Bye George. Hi George. Say hi to your mum. So we are. Sorry. Okay, so the audio is still on the live stream. That's good. So we're able to continue as well on there. And we're off. Oh, still going. If you are still watching on the Facebook Live, again, this was not our intention, but for the second meeting in the space of 3 days, we have to do this because we've been thrown out and silenced in a meeting. I'm not entirely sure what we did wrong, being abused all night from the public gallery. We have raised this again with the officers, and sadly nothing was done. We had asked to sit where the opposition parties should sit, and again we were ignored. We raised safeguarding concerns on Monday, they were ignored. So we don't really, as a Labour group, have many options available to us.
Not all the officers.
No, that's true.
Certain officers.
That's true. It'd be unfair on the environmental health officers this evening to tarnish them. And there's lots of things on the agenda that we would like to have debated tonight. Councillor Smith has a Brexit motion that he would like to talk about. Yeah, we should have been talking about SEND as well, because we had a motion that should have been carried over on SEND, but that was binned off as well. Absolutely. And just that's a good point that Brodie's raised there. Could you imagine a scenario in which this had happened if we'd have done this to Reform UK last year, or to the Conservatives, and moved that they were silenced and moved that they were thrown out of the meetings? So it's very sad that this is where Basildon Council is right now. We have a Reform councillor coming back into the room. Maybe he's crossing the floor. Is he coming over to Labour? Oh, he's thinking about it. He's thinking about it. There's nothing Catholic about being Reform. There we go. So he's gone into the Reform. So we've had it all night in the public gallery. I'm a scumbag, I'm a bully, I'm a narcissist, I'm all these sorts of things just being shouted and screamed at me in the public gallery. I was making the point about the Orwell development, and there was some accusations flying about brown envelopes and all the rest of it from the public gallery. Again, I've asked in the adjournment, I've asked before the meeting that we, as the Labour group, were able to not be sat here because it is highly confrontational. You literally have, in this front row here behind me, these are all Reform activists. So they're all people that go out delivering leaflets, knocking on doors. You know, when the adjournment is taking place, all the Reform councillors are coming up to the front here to speak to all of the members of the public. So they are Reform activists. And as I said, one of them, who was here tonight, Gary Dastra, he was himself filming female councillors in their cars on on Monday night when they were leaving the council. So it's not right, it's not proper, it's not safe for us to be in this. I was called slanderous, libelous, basically you name it, I've been called it this evening. Sam's fans, yes, that's true, they were all there as well. So that's the reality, and because as you can see, there's an arm's length between where I'm sat and the public gallery, so I can't actually hear too much about what's going on down on the front because of the abuse and stuff that I'm getting from the back, and obviously being filmed and people behind me who are filming me. So it's not a great scenario for us this evening. A couple of the Tories have just come back into the chamber this evening. Councillor Turner as well, who himself is facing allegations.
Why did Anne Page quit?
Why is that? Yeah.
Why did Anne Page quit?
Lots of questions about an officer.
Why
Now,
did she resign her position?
the public are coming back into the chamber this evening as well. So we've got the public are coming in.
Oh yeah, you know all
So,
about
yeah.
that, wouldn't you? Wouldn't know all
So
about
here we go.
that, wouldn't you? You know all about taking
So
money, wouldn't you? You
we're
know
going to
all
be
about it.
remaining on live, on Facebook Live for the remainder of this meeting. So we will not be silent. We will not be leaving the council chamber. I've made my speech now, so I don't need to continue with my speech. It's for the next person to continue with their speech, but we will not be going anywhere. Not much is clear.
You are disgusting. Mayor, can I raise a point of business, please? Woo! Remember this at the ballot box, people. That's what you always used to say. Remember this.
We are resuming the meeting today. However, I do want to put it on record that Councillor Gavin Callaghan has refused to leave the meeting. He's been an absolute disgrace to local government. And,
23A,
no. I'm still making my
yeah,
point.
if you're a member. Sorry.
The attitude
I
and the
don't
acts
care.
by the
You are not
leader
allowed
of the
to use
opposition.
offensive language against other members in this chamber. You are not allowed to use offensive language against other members in this chamber.
Would you like to stand and speak, Councillor Powell?
No, I
or are
don't,
you
need to,
shouting
no, I
from a
don't have any
sedentary
respect for
position
you,
like
so
you
I
have for
don't
the rest of
stand.
the-
I
the
don't
rest of
stand
the
for, I have no
meeting?
respect for. Please. Offensive comments against a member, you are impugning a member.
So now we're moving on to the business. We're going to move straight to the vote on that particular one. All those in favour of the motion, please raise their hands.
Don't even do it. I learned from the best.
All those against? Any abstentions? That motion has been passed. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to move over to Councillor Smith for him to introduce his motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is 10 years ago this month, we voted to leave the European Union. Now, some would have you think it was all because of immigration, but for many people like me, this was about this country being able to govern itself without the pointless, idiotic red tape imposed on us, not by Euro MPs. They have no ability to initiate new law. It was the unelected commissioners. At some one point, just to make this point abundantly clear, whilst we was in the EU, the one commissioner for fishing represented Austria, a landlocked country. This is why we voted for Brexit, not just about immigration, just to remove the red tape and trade in this big bad world to get the best deals for people. Now, regrettably, Boris gave us anything but Brexit. We could have a new passport. Where is the benefits of Brexit? When local authorities are still being hampered, because admittedly we had that terrible situation with COVID, it's hard to criticise the Prime Minister and his government's handling. I have my own personal view, we could have been more like Sweden, but we got through it. And because we voted for Brexit, we could roll out the jab before any other country in the EU, which was a plus. But sadly, since that point, Jacob Rees-Mogg wanted to do that bonfire of EU legislation, which is costing taxpayers ever more money. And he was never allowed to do that because that government didn't believe in Brexit, didn't want to initiate, didn't believe in it. Now, I believe what we need is a scrutiny committee to see how EU legislation that was never repealed by Boris's government is still hampering. When we go to tender, for example, we still have to fanny around with certain tenders with the official journal of the EU. We're free of it. The landfill tax, we have to pay per tonnage of waste. The crunch used to be just one vehicle, but to make when we reinstate the crunch, there's a small fleet of vehicles, so we can do as much recycling. It isn't about being green, it's reducing the landfill going to waste because there is a tax that we have to pay on it. Now, all Boris done, it was called the EU landfill tax, he just scrubbed the word EU out of it. How much is that costing councils? I mean, if you live in this borough and you want to get rid of something that is non-recyclable, you've got to make an appointment, go to Pitsy Tip, and all that rigmarole. And it's creating more fly tipping. That is a cost to the council. So I would like to see a council as the political will, and I feel this is why I've tabled it now, because I think Reform and myself have similar views to the EU. I mean, I'm always going to be a bit more hardcore, but I am who I am on the EU. But I think we can get a scrutiny committee together, chaired by someone that believes in Brexit, right? Not jockeying for a job for myself, I'm in opposition, and that's what I'm happy to be. But someone who believes in Brexit, to chair this scrutiny group, to go through what costs are still applied to council by the EU, and by the end of the municipal year, there is a campaigning document for people who want to give the British people for what they voted for June 10 years ago, Brexit. Not just a new passport, but a document that hampers out to local government the costs of all these unrepealed EU legislations, directives and rules that are part, I will wrap up, Mr. Mayor, that are still hampering local authorities. We have to be penny first. We've debated tonight about councillors' allowance and political assistance, but when do we debate the real hefty costs, red tape and pointless directives that were never ever repealed when we got Brexit? As I said, just a passport and aggravation at the border. Let this council lead the way, create this scrutiny committee, go through what is hampering local authorities, so there will be this document that we can present to our members of Parliament, because I know MPs like Mark Francois would support this, so that then Parliament is being lobbied and pressured to do the bonfire of regulations that Jacob Rees-Mogg wanted to do, and then we can help make sure Brexit is a reality, not just a new passport. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members.
Do you have a seconder? Perfect. Councillor Barnes, you wanted to speak on it?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I can put 16J3, I move that the question be put.
That is accepted. All those in favour? This is all in favour. Just want to confirm this is a motion to confirm that it's going to be put straight to the vote, right? Yeah, fine. All those against? Any abstentions? That's been passed. We'll go straight to the vote. All those in favour of the motion?
1, 2.
All those against? Any abstentions? That motion has not been passed. Thank you. We're now going to move to Councillor Houghton. Would you like to move your motion, please?
Oh, I forgot. Thank you, Mr Mayor. This motion is built around a very simple principle. If taxpayers pay the bills, taxpayers should be able to see where the money goes. I don't think that should be controversial. In fact, I suspect most residents watching tonight would be surprised that we even need to debate it. Across this borough, families are working hard. They pay their council tax, they pay their rent, they pay their business rates, and they have every right to expect openness from the organisations they fund. Let me be clear, Basildon Borough Council already publishes expenditure information, and this motion recognises that. This is not about criticising what currently exists, it's about recognising that we can do better. The current £500 reporting threshold was introduced in a different era. Technology has moved on, public expectations have moved on. The ability to provide information quickly and clearly has moved on. Residents increasingly expect transparency at the starting point, not the exception. One of the issues that has repeatedly been raised with me is that whilst individual payments may appear relatively small, cumulative spending can be much harder to identify. 10 payments of £200 often tell a very different story to one payment of £2,000. Residents shouldn't need specialist knowledge, spreadsheets and hours of investigation to understand how public money is spent. The information should simply be there, easy to access, easy to understand and easy to scrutinise. This motion therefore proposes several practical changes, reducing the reporting threshold from £500 to £250, providing clearer expenditure information. Reviewing redactions to ensure information is only withheld where the law genuinely requires it, and improving reporting so cumulative spending and repeat payments can be identified more easily. None of this prevents officers doing their jobs, none of this prevents legitimate confidentiality, none of this undermines commercial sensitivity where it genuinely exists. The safeguards remain exactly where they should be, but the balance shifts firmly back towards openness, because transparency is not something council should fear. Good organisations welcome scrutiny, good organisations welcome accountability, good organisations understand that public trust is earned, and trust grows when residents can see for themselves that decisions are being made properly. I often hear people say that confidence in politics is declining. One of the reasons for that is because too many people feel shut out of decision making. Too many people feel information is difficult to access, and too many people feel they are expected simply to trust the system. Well, trust is important, but trust that works best when it's backed up by transparency. This motion sends a clear message. Basildon Borough Council has nothing to hide. We are prepared to go further than the minimum requirements. We are prepared to lead, and we are prepared to become one of the most transparent councils in the country. That is good for residents, that is good for councillors, it is good for officers, and it is good for public confidence. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
I would now like to invite Councillor Swaby. This is his maiden speech, so please can you afford him the silence that he requires on his maiden speech. Thank you.
Mr Mayor, I am pleased to second this motion. This is, at its core, not about spreadsheets. This is about trust. Every year this council spends millions of pounds of public money. That money belongs to the people of Basildon, not political parties, not councillors, not officers. It's the people who earned that money. And because it is their money, we should be able to see how this money is being spent. Most residents are not interested in complicated accounting processes that I would follow in work. They simply want reassurance that that money is being spent properly and delivering value across our council. The best way to provide reassurance is through openness. When information is available, trust increases. When information is hidden, suspicion grows. The motion takes a common sense approach. This proposal in front of us is practical and proportionate, making that information easier to understand, allowing residents to identify patterns of spending more easily, and ensuring that public scrutiny is based on facts rather than assumptions. I think most residents would look at this motion and wonder why this hasn't already happened. The public mood has changed. People want greater accountability from public bodies. This council tonight has the opportunity to show leadership and set a standard. I am proud to second this motion, and I urge every member to support it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Swaby. Councillor Barnes?
Yeah, can I move 16J3, please?
We're now going to move that we move straight to the vote. All those in favour of moving straight to the vote, please raise their hands. All those against? Any abstentions? No, fine. Okay, so we're now going to move straight to the vote. All those in favour of the motion, please raise their hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
All those against?
1, 2. 2.
Any abstentions?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Thank you very much. That motion has now been passed. We move on to the final motion of the evening. Councillor Barnes. Councillor Schrader.
Without the magic box. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wish to make an amendment to my motion. I want to add a point 5 to the recommendation that the Council delegates to the Leader the authority to consider and, if appropriate, approve this Council's participation in joint action with other councils to challenge LGR in Essex. So, I hope that's acceptable to my seconder, who is Councillor Jeffrey. Councillor Jeffrey is in agreement. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I mean, here we are, back to the tortured subject of local government reorganisation, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for accepting the urgency of this debate, given the Labour government's apparent determination to press ahead with this balmy plan to merge our borough with Thurrock. Now, over the years, I've known people to have all sorts of opinions on LGR. Some are log-standing advocates, some are bitter opponents, some were keen advocates but are now staunch critics. Everyone has an opinion and their preferred version. Its adherents tell us that it's about efficiency, accountability and stronger local services. But what's happened in Essex tells a different story. The last serious reform of local government back in 1973, which led to the creation of this authority, was the result of a lengthy process that included a royal commission. By contrast, Labour has tried to push through reforms by tacking them onto devolution deals and bullying local authorities into accepting them. Like, give us LGR or you won't get your Devo deal. Bearing in mind there's big infrastructure money tied up in devolution. So what started as a discussion about devolving more powers locally has morphed into yet another top-down exercise where Whitehall seeks to impose structures on residents they neither want nor asked for. LGR entails the carving up of the historic county of Essex and merging existing well-established communities into wholly artificial political constructs with scant real local identity. So hell-bent is the government on imposing this expensive restructure. They even tried to suspend local democracy and delay elections in a desperate effort to ram it through. But where's the mandate? When will the people of Essex be asked what they actually want? That's why it's my party's position, and I believe it should be the whole county's, that we won't allow this government to impose the wholesale dismemberment of our county or the arbitrary splicing together of local communities into gargantuan, amorphous administrative blobs unless and until those proposals are put to the people of Essex in a democratic referendum. Because we certainly can't leave it to Labour to determine the future shape of local government in Essex. Perhaps the most egregious aspect of this entire process has been the final decision by the Secretary of State to back the 5-unitary model. This was, on the face of it, an inexplicable decision. Even now, serious questions are emerging about how this decision was reached. It doesn't even meet the government's own stated criteria. The White Paper repeatedly emphasised the importance of scale, sustainability, financial resilience, a strong tax base and the ability to deliver major services, including adult social care. Basrock is substantially smaller than the 500,000 the government told us was the minimum population. It's just over 300,000. A tax base that small, and with the lack of diversity in the tax base, means it fails to maximise resilience and long-term financial stability. How will it fund the growing cost of adult social care, of looked after children, of homelessness, of highways maintenance? It will be holed below the waterline from day one. And this reorganisation won't save money. It's going to cost billions to set these new authorities up. It's our residents who must pick up the bill if we get it wrong. Yet today, we learn that the Secretary of State reportedly ignored advice from multiple officials that favoured either a 3 or 4 model as more likely to be financially sustainable. So why on earth did he go for 5? It's hard to rationalise beyond the fact it was designed and advocated by our erstwhile Labour leader. Some uncharitable people have suggested that it's just a good old case of Labour gerrymandering on the boundaries. No. Perish the thought. No. I can't believe that that's true. I'll tell you one thing that certainly doesn't bode well. It's probably not a great idea to merge with a borough who also don't want to merge with you. Even when it was led by Labour, Thurrock Council was so animated in its opposition to this merger, they submitted their own separate business case seeking to be merged with literally anybody else. They obviously had a look at the rising debt profile the former Labour administration was building up and realised that we were about to be in even more trouble than they are. Mr Mayor, I've been a borough councillor for 13 years. I've just recently become a county councillor. What I've learned over that time is that local government works best when people recognise the place that governs them. That's why our forebears in 1973 created a 2-tier system in the first place, because they recognised that some services make more sense delivered at a county level, others at a more local level. Now, I'm not an unalloyed admirer of the 2-tier system. I've criticised it in this chamber many times. It has drawbacks, but I've never much fancied super unitaries either, and the fact remains, the further you move away from genuine local identity, Basildon, Billericay, Langdon, Pitsea, Vange, Wickford, the harder it becomes to maintain proper democratic connection and public trust. That brings me to the political reality today and the changed circumstances in this chamber since the council voted to back 5. LGR should be driven by evidence, sustainability and community identity, not by one party's political advantage scribbling lines on a map like Sykes-Picot. Given the opportunity to support Basrock in May, which was endlessly plugged by the party opposite, residents of this borough told them to sling the rook, and we should tell the government to do the same. I'm winding up, Mr Mayor, that Basildon doesn't want Basrock, Thurrock doesn't want Basrock, and the great county of Essex deserves better than to be picked apart like carrion. We should tell the government they can either put their plans to a county-wide referendum and let the people of this borough and of Essex have their say, or take my advice, perform another well-placed screeching U-turn and drop this expensive, energy-consuming folderol without further delay. So, Keir, you've got enough problems, just drop it. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I commend the motion to full council.
Councillor Jeffrey, you're seconding, correct?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm really pleased to be able to second this motion, rescinding the council support for the South West Essex Authority, popularly known as BASROC, an authority so exposed to debt and financial risk that the time the taxpayer was expected to actually see savings was measured in decades, not months or years. And as my colleague said, half a century, if not longer. But this is not just actually about local government structures or administrative tidying up. It's not even really just about replacing one set of councils with another. This process was driven from the top down. Our constituents were asked to respond to consultations, read through numerous options, give their views and engage with the process, but when those views did not fit the answer the government wanted, they were ignored. And Wickford is actually the case study for this. The government's own consultation summary acknowledged that there was a strong local response from Wickford residents who wanted Wickford to leave the borough of Basildon and form part of a new Mid-Essex authority. They engaged with the process, they registered their views and on where they felt their community best belonged. I'd even knocked on doors during this process and residents were not impressed. Many did not want LGR, many did not support it, but if it was going to happen, they wanted a say in their own future. Now, the government's own English devolution white paper said that the new unitary authorities should be financially sustainable, improve service delivery and provide a stable basis for local services. BASROC does not meet those tests. It does not meet the financial sustainability test. No compelling case has been made that it will improve services, and it does not even meet the government's own population benchmark of 500,000 residents. Now, under this proposal, Basildon is being asked to merge with Thurrock, a council that has faced significant debt issues, exceptional financial challenges and government intervention. Our taxpayers in Basildon have had no say in a decision that created Thurrock's financial position, yet they're now being asked to accept the risk and uncertainty that comes along with it. Now, according to actually the Times earlier today, this was not just one official raising a concern in a side note about the 5 model. Steve Reed reportedly overruled senior officials across Whitehall to choose the 5 council model. The Department of Health and Social Care reportedly raised concerns and preferred 4. The Department for Education reportedly backed 3. And officials in the ministry responsible for local government itself reportedly concluded that 3 councils performed strongest on efficiency, financial risk, sustainability and economic alignment, such that the Labour government knows what it's doing, that it picks 4 options and still goes with the wrong one. So now the 5 council model was reportedly not financially viable within 5 years. So what was the point? Just to gerrymander the county of Essex against the will of its citizens. So, yet, despite all of that, we should actually now rescind our previous support for the 5 unitary authority model. We should oppose the creation of the South West Essex Authority, and we should support a county-wide referendum before any more reorganisation is imposed. If the government believes this proposal is so strong, so financially sound and so popular, it should have no fear in putting it to the electorate.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jeffrey. Councillor Barnes?
16J3, I move the question be put.
Thank you. We're now going to take a vote on putting this straight to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? Perfect. We're going to go straight to the vote on the LGR motion. All those in favour? As amended by Councillor Barnes. All those in favour?
Point of order, Mr. Point of order.
Apologies, as moved by Councillor Schrader. I do apologise.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Point of order.
Mr. Mayor, we have not voted on whether or not to.
We haven't voted on the amendment.
You haven't voted on the amendment.
It hasn't. The amendment hasn't been moved.
Why are you voting on something that hasn't moved?
Mr. Mayor, you need to move the amendment first.
All those against?
What am I voting on? Am I voting?
Substantive motion.
Any abstentions? Yeah. That motion has been passed. Thank you very much. We're now going to conclude the meeting with the national anthem. Please rise. Okay. There we go. Gracious King, Lord, God save our King. Send him victorious, happy and glorious. God save the King. Thank you very much.